Yo, we're back. 7 Days to Die.
Oh.
I didn't make it. Oh God.
Oh gosh.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I didn't make it.
Oh no.
I was literally sleeping in it. Then I woke up to get a glass of water. Then the weird shit happened. I locked myself in the bedroom. Didn't stop to make my fucking bed. I mean, it's not perfectly made, like a child tried to. Oh God, what a haunting detail! Like God. You said no one was there.
That freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah. You said no one was there. No one. Call the police.
I heard her getting downstairs.
Look, I can't. Why not? Someone's definitely fucking around in my house. And tell them what? That someone made your bed? Placed your pan on the floor? No signs of forced entry? You didn't get hurt? I bumped into something. In the middle of the night? In the dark? How unusual. Okay, well, someone was definitely there. Look, there's not much I can do. I've checked everything. You're pretty safe. You have no attic, no basement, no back door. Windows locked, doors locked. You're good. I hope you clean up and I'll get going. If there's anything weird, call me. Okay.
I had to ask her, even though she was going to think I'm crazy.
How many steps does my staircase have? What? Count them for me. 14 as usual. Okay.
Okay. For one, I want to call out her Daphne's comment where she says, our author says, I bumped into something, and Daphne says, in the middle of the night, in the dark, how unusual. That was a jerk thing to say. That was very rude. To be like, oh, it was dark out? How could you see?
Yeah, it seems a bit odd because it's like, well, that doesn't really matter. But I'm still under the impression, I don't know, the sister character, it just seems like it's not, well, I'm making leaps and bounds, but I'm like, it just seems odd.
I don't know. I feel like there's something up with her. I also feel like, yes, I understand. Like, if my sister called me right now and I came over, she was like, I think someone's been here with me. Granted, my sister's not blind, of course. But I'd probably be like, have you considered the possibility that you're stupid?
Yeah.
Have you considered not being dumb? Have you ever thought of that? Like, I don't know if I'd immediately be like, you're right, I'm calling the police and telling them that there's a man living in your house that's not broken into, you know? So I kind of get it, but I also feel like
the painting off the wall and like the living room situation was a bit odd.
The thing about it's like a child made it.
Yeah, that comment is fucked.
I'm gonna go do that quest.
This is great so far, by the way. Just the premise of like a blind person having someone live in their house is terrifying. I definitely felt I had flipped a switch with that question, because after that question, the way she talked to me changed. She was overly patient, overly calm, kept telling me to put on some music, distress, take a bath, listen to one of my audiobooks, and don't panic. I felt an ounce of heartbreak. Just think my sister didn't believe me. But I moved on. After that, a few days passed, when I kept staying alert, but nothing happened. No weird stuff. Everything had gone back to normal. Christmas came and I hosted, had friends and family over, and forgot about how lonely and desolate I'd felt in that house. Maybe I just had an episode of wandering. Maybe my mind had just been somewhere else. When you live with a disability, sometimes it's hard to stay on track.
And to be fair, she was just going back and forth. Like you could make an argument for herself of being like, I mean, I was counting my steps and it was crazy. Who knows? Maybe I just like had a weird, you know what I mean? Like just.
Yeah, but granted, I'm not in her position, but
Sure.
I feel like 100 steps, I would be like, okay.
Well, it's that's what I mean though, is maybe she's like, maybe I did have like a fucking weird mental split.
Maybe it was
there
like
for
a
second.
stat moment.
I don't know. Yeah.
So what if my mental health had taken a hit? I was aware of it and decided to see a therapist. Months passed and nothing happened. I was happy. My new book had been published and I hadn't felt scared or watched in ages. Things were good. One night, I was on the couch, drinking some wine and watching The Bachelor. Well, not exactly watching, but listening. You know what I mean. It's still entertaining. The AC was on and blasting waves of warmth around the house, and I was starting to feel sleepy. I reached out my leg out of the blanket and touched the floor. It's a cold floor. Reached my hand out and felt the couch. Cold, too. This coldness was everywhere. How could it be? I had the AC on for the whole evening. Why was it so cold? I reached for the remote and turned up the AC. It wasn't working.
Stupid fucking air conditioner. I'm gonna turn it off and on. Wrong problems require modern solutions.
I told you I talk to myself a lot. So I pressed the big button. The AC beeped. The beep was wrong. It should have been lower. It's higher when it turns on. Was it off this whole time? Couldn't be. I literally felt its warm breeze on the back of my neck. Oh. Oh, it's like a gut punch. Oh, Hunter, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm afraid. Wait, when did she say she felt it while she was on the couch?
Yeah, it was just behind her, breathing right behind her. So it was like,
oh my word. It like, it's just like she's just watching TV and it's just there with her the whole time. And it could be anything. It could be
a
any
giant
beast,
fucking baby.
any monster.
Don't like that.
I wonder if like we have to have some blind viewers, right? Well, listeners, I guess. We have to have some blind audience members, right? Is this like, I guess it would be a recurring fear or a common fear about someone being in a room with you don't know about, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's that great movie called Hush. I think it's about a blind woman in the house, and I mean, I don't know. I would assume just somebody watching you.
No, Hush is a deaf woman.
Oh, deaf woman. Oh, okay. Yeah, that movie rules too. But yeah, no, I think it's just the idea of someone being in your house and you just don't know because you're missing one of your senses and it just leaves you a little more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if that's like a common thing because now that I'm thinking about it, that would be, I mean, obviously as someone who like isn't used to it and just like afraid from a distance, I feel like that would be like nightmare fuel story. I feel like stories like this would be like terrifying.
Yeah,
you know.
That's up to
even just home invasion stories. Like I know people who are super susceptible to just like home invasion stories and stuff. Very real, weird thing. But yeah.
I stood there in silence, trying to process. It was as if I was just stalling, delaying the moment of realization, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to admit someone or something had been breathing on my neck.
Can I make the workbench?
It's probably still there, but the breeze had stopped. I turned the TV off. I needed absolute silence to focus. I stood there for what felt like hours, listening. The floors didn't creak. I could almost make out the carpet being pressed. Steps. Normal people wouldn't have noticed, but I did. The steps were irregular. The pattern was weird, the pacing uncoordinated. I heard when it left the carpet. Then the thump indicated it was right next to me. The couch shifted. I was over it. People hallucinate. I stuck my hand to the side, ready to feel whatever was there. I didn't get the chance. Suddenly, the couch shifted back up and I heard a whoosh. The thing had seen me try to reach and it moved. It didn't want me to touch it. Then I heard a click. My TV turned back on. Whatever it was telling me to ignore it. Why? I was not going to sit around and watch TV with that thing next to me. I was going upstairs. After I counted the 14 steps, for some reason, I knew the 15th would be there, went back down, 17, went back up, 19, back down. I was 20 extra steps in and counting when I realized it was not going to end. Stairs were tweaking again. Turned around, went back up into the bedroom, door locked. The TV's still running downstairs. After a while, I heard it turn off. Others would have been terrified. I was relieved. That meant the thing was downstairs and not here. With me.
Wonderful. This is wonderful,
bro.
I'm having such a good time with this one.
What a banger, dude. That whole segment about like from the breath on the neck to like you could hear it on the carpet to setting down on the couch to like
it's also just like no fat, just it's very just like to the point. Yeah, just bam, here's your story. Yeah. Gosh, this is sick. Yeah, this.
You know what?
Really,
you were right. We needed something after last week, and I think this is our medicine. I think this is doing a great job right now.
Part 3. I'm down.
Part 3. Let's go. How's the milk doing?
You know what? It's one of those things where I feel like it's kind of bubbled back up and my gutty works, so I think I'm okay.
Okay, I'm proud of you. All right, part 3. I've decided to install some cameras around to be safe. If anything peculiar happened, I wanted to have a friend check them out, or at least tell me I was being crazy. I set them up the next day, after the incident I posted earlier. After that, I kept minding my own business. I was terrified, and I know what you guys would say.
Why would you still stay there? Why were you so calm?
Well, there was this odd feeling I had. Something was definitely off, but somehow I was able to go through that, be okay. Almost as if you're walking on a tightrope and you know that it's dangerous, but you don't want to hesitate or stop, or even slow down, because you somehow feel that the less you think about it and go on, the safer you are from falling. Although, in my case, I didn't exactly know what my fate would be.
I think also it's just, it's hard to just be like, oh, get up and move, leave. But then also, too, I think that earlier in the story, it does a good job by I think that she may be rationalizing that it's like, I think that she believes she is in there with something now, but we have seen a back and forth with like questioning some of her actions or decisions, or like even her own, like, you know, can she trust herself as a narrator kind of thing.
The story has done, in my opinion, 3 things right now to not make me think of that option until she brought it up. Because I feel like any other story you or I read, we would be like, why are you
just get the fuck out of there. Yeah.
Just drive away, get out, right? But it's done 3 things. For one, our character's blind, which limits options, right? Assuming this is out in the countryside, like she said, it's implausible for her to just start walking down the road, right? She can't drive. And then the other thing is it's already pre-established in the story that maybe part of this is her mind playing tricks on her, and her blindness causes her to have these moments of not really delirium, but she gets too caught up on one thing and doesn't realize what's happening around her. You know, her senses are impaired. So like that's 2 good reasons to not immediately leave, because maybe she's overreacting, and even if she wasn't, how could she? And 3, this writing has been doing so well, and I've been so hooked in, I didn't even consider that an option.
Yeah.
When the story brought it up. Which goes to show that a lot of your plot holes and like issues with stories, if you just write everything around it really well, most people won't care about.
It's true.
It was Thursday. I had just come home from my job. I also teach creative writing at a university. It's important that I write down my routine that day. So wait, how do you... I guess she said out in the countryside, but I imagine there must be like public transport or something like that.
That, or I just imagine that she just got a lift or something from maybe like someone else at her job.
I locked the door, got inside, locked it back, took my coat off and hung it up, took my shoes off, put my keys on a table, went upstairs, changed, washed my hands, came back down to cook dinner. Chopped, stirred, turned the oven on, set the table, worked my way around the stove, sat down and ate my dinner, washed the dishes, so on. Then went upstairs, bathroom, sent some text. Went back downstairs and turned on the TV. After a while, I began dozing off. I could not keep up with whatever fight was going on the show, and my mind began lazily sweeping away until a dream made its way in. Mixed with reality, I fell asleep. I awoke and was greeted by silence. No eerie sounds, no movement, silence. Weird. Hadn't I left the TV on?
Oh, okay.
I reached my hand out for the remote, which wasn't in the usual spot.
Dude,
The whole
why is it
room was
swinging like
silent, so the thing was either very still or it had left. I needed to call my friend and ask them to come over so that I could have them check the cameras. The house remained silent for a while until I heard his car in the driveway. Good. I let him in and he asked me if he noticed anything unusual around.
Not really.
Opened up my laptop and had him access the footage.
Okay, let's see. So we're looking into today, right? Yeah. I'll just add the last 12 hours. That should be enough. Or the last 6? Just do 12. Fine.
I heard the keyboard clacking for a bit, and then we waited until he said,
There it is. Fast forward. Nothing unusual. House empty. Here you are, coming home from work. You're taking your coat off, shoes, keys, went upstairs. Nothing there. Fast forward. Here you are again. Back down. Open the fridge.
He fell silent for a while. At first, I figured he wasn't seeing anything, so he got tired of narrating what I was doing. I even thought the thing might not even show on camera. I didn't need another person to think I was crazy. Then the silence had gone on for too long.
So, what do you see? Are you fucking with me or what? Look, I'm really not in the mood, so please tell me if you're fucking with me. What did you see? Let's just go to my car. I'll take your laptop with us and phone, and I'll download some more footage, and you'll be spending the night with me. Why?
Oh gosh.
I'll tell you. I will. Let's just go.
Bro.
Oh, fuck. God damn, ease a girl into it. Good lord, dude. God damn.
That's terrifying.
That's terrifying.
His voice was shaking a bit, and I knew he was trying to be calm, but his movements were too rushed, too unhinged. He was freaking out. Put my coat on, took my wallet and keys, and we left. We got inside the car. He immediately turned the engine on and hit the gas without saying a word.
What did you see? Just tell me. You're freaking me out. I'm really sorry for you and what you've had to go through. That is some paranormal activity shit. What did you see? Okay, so you opened the fridge, took out some stuff, then started preparing dinner. I saw some movement upstairs, so like in the corner of the screen. Then I don't know how to explain it. It was a thing. It was so fucking creepy. It looked like you, but not really, because it was longer arms and legs. It had a very bony face, wearing some clothes. I assume yours. So it was human? No, I don't think so. Its arms bent so weirdly, and it was taller than you, and it walked. Fuck, what the fuck? It walked so strange and acted so strange, and it had this hair, thin and falling off, and the face. Yeah, its eyes were really big, but that was without a doubt the scariest shit I've ever seen. Fixated on you the whole time. What was it doing? This is gonna sound crazy, but I think it was mimicking you. It literally watched you nonstop, and the shit that freaks me out the most is that it was in front of you the whole time. While you cut the vegetables, while you ate, while you were watching TV, studying you, poorly mimicking what you were doing. Then you fell asleep. Yeah? I watched you the whole time. Took its bony finger and at some point pressed the off button on the remote. Its face literally sat like 2 inches from yours for a while. Just stared until you woke up, then walked. I don't know if I can call it walked upstairs, but wow. Fuck! My God!
It's just right in front, like a giant spider thing,
Just a giant,
watching her.
just a giant you spider. Also, just so weird too, like wearing your clothes. It just like wants to be you. Ugh.
It's staring at you. It wears your clothes. It makes your bed for you. It turns the TV off for you. It breathes on the back of your neck. Ugh. After he finished talking, we sat in silence for a while. I didn't know what to say. He parked his car and we went up to his apartment. Sat down to download the rest of the footage.
For fuck's sakes. What? Will, I swear to God, it's been watching you nonstop. Like, I've downloaded the footage since the cameras were set up. So there's 2 months ago and it's here. All the time. Sometimes it climbs up to the corner of your wall or on the ceiling and watches. Other times it shadows you.
I felt sick all this time when I thought I was alone.
And this isn't even the weirdest thing. 2 months ago, it didn't have hair.
Oh, it's her hair.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
2 months ago, it didn't have hair. I think the hairs is not its own. What? I think it got it from somewhere. Like, I think it's been picking at your hair while you're sleeping. It's trying to become human, to become you. Oh, God. Fuck!
I'm back to paranoid Isaiah. I've got the door open. I'm like,
Yeah, I know,
I'm
shit.
angling it to the right monitor.
There's
so
gonna
I
be
can
some
see.
gangly giraffe bastard in your bathroom picking out all the hair from your fucking drain, dude.
Oh my gosh, dude. Gives me chills, man.
Weapons do 10% more damage
down-
when using scope.
Just the idea of it being like right behind you all the time. It being up in the corners, like looking down at you. Ugh.
Even the moments when you're not there, it takes your things, tries them out. It looks fucking terrifying. It is literally learning, studying you.
I knew for some reason, and I didn't even need proof. I just knew it had to come from the stairs. Climbed up from whatever portal had been there, and I knew it was trying to lure me down there so it could take my place. So it could become me. I explained everything to my friend. There was nothing I could do except get out. I didn't know how to close the portal, and I needed my friend's help if I wanted to try. I was trying to evaluate my risk, my options, when my friend said something that made my blood run cold.
Look, if you don't groove through that portal stuff, it'll probably just kill you and take your place.
You guys can't really.
I think the next time you return home,
Toolbar.
you will have figured that out.
Yeah, so the only logical solution is to never go home and firebomb the house.
Yeah, so basically he's just saying if you go back, you're gonna die. 100%.
If you go back, this thing is certainly going to kill you.
Yeah.
There's no question. All right, are we ready for the final part?
Oh boy, I'm ready.
How are we doing, Milk Boy? You ready? Can you do it?
I'm so stoked. I can't wait to have a diarrhea after this.
It's going to be awesome, isn't it? And then while you're doing it, you can think about a hunter, a spider hunter, right behind you on the
Yeah,
wall.
a
looking
gangly
down at
spider
you,
hunter who's
learning
picking at
how to
my
have
feet.
diarrhea.
Yeah, he's like taking all of his sour milk and drinking it profusely, and he's just like, oh, up in the corner. Oh,
Yep. Yep.
oh. And I'm like, first time, bud. Oh.
If I can trade it down.
Yeah, Hunter just makes friends with it.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah,
you all right, buddy? You want some more sour milk? Oh.
You can have all the medical.
This big nasty cicada person.
Yeah.
Chemistry station.
I'm like, fucking pussy. Drink it.
Trader has the.
All right, last public part. I'm stoked. If you guys haven't noticed yet, you should 100% sign up for this coffee and read more of this story.
Yeah,
and other works this person has.
is great. I think Emma Watson, but dumber, has proven herself quite well, if I do say so myself.
Very stoked. Last part, I'm ready.
Let's go. My sister knew now that I wasn't crazy anymore. Everyone had seen the footage. It's become some sort of news around my family, friends. They were all dying to watch it. Some morbid curiosity making them want to see what traumatized me for the past months. I was grateful they saw it too, but at the same time I had to move out and sell the house, and that was a bummer. Sell's a strong word. I would have. Has no one contacted the news yet?
Yeah, I mean, is there a thing here? I guess just it's like a. Well, I mean, we don't have to derail the story too much, but like, would you just? I mean, could you even show this to the authorities, or would it be just something where they're just like, you should just burn the house down, or like, you know what I mean?
I don't know if that'd be legal advice, but I think that's what I would come to. That's the decision I feel like there's no regard you could show the police this and they would believe it. It'd just be like, okay, that's all right. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I was struggling financially and I knew I couldn't just buy another house. I had to sell this one first, and that obviously meant I had to go back there and get my things. I was
Or
not
not.
planning to go alone though, or not. It's, I mean, maybe it's its things now.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think I can just like get a new TV. I think that's fine.
I'm only going back if I have like a SWAT team. You know, if I can walk in with
Even
SEAL
then,
Team
I don't
6
know, man.
around me, you know. Well, here's the thing, right? She assumes that it is a thing that lives in this house because of the staircase and because it showed up when she got there, right? But like, couldn't this thing be anywhere? Why does it have to be part of the house, right?
I am still like, you're assuming that there's one. You know, how do we know that?
I didn't even think
How do we know
about
there isn't
that. That's
more
a
than
good
one?
point.
You know, I don't
There could
know.
be way more. It could be like a nest of them.
That's what I'm saying. Like some weird fucking bug family. I don't know.
That'd be sick. What would it take for you to go back into the house?
I think that I think it would be to go back and help somebody. Like if it's like, oh, my wife's stuck in there or something,
Yeah.
you know, like that. Otherwise, I really don't know of earthly possessions where You would be like,
Yeah, I can't think of anything I own that would make me go back. What about a pet? Would you go back for a pet?
Yeah, I'd go back for my dog.
Okay. I don't know. How many guys would you bring with you?
God. You know me fucked up is it would be something where like I'd be like, hey Isaiah, you wanna help me move something? And I'd like have you go in and I'd shut the door. I'd hear the rustling and then I'd just make a dead sprint for my beagle and I would leave. My basset hound and I'd leave.
And I'm like pressed up against the window, like, no, honey,
Yeah. Oh no.
You can see it like pulling the hair out of my head, like
Yeah, exactly.
right behind me.
And like, well, that's what
Hunter, please.
yeah. It's giant lips kissing the window.
Okay. All right. You would be the one that, as I'm being torn apart, would be like, oh, he has big lips. That's why that thing has big lips. That's funny. It would look like its face would be your drawing of me.
That's perfect.
That would be its head.
That's perfect. Well, it's a beautiful representation, so you should be happy.
Okay. That you said when I said I die, you said that's what I get for what? What were you about to say?
Oh, I can't remember.
Okay, I'm sure it was something.
My
rude and
asshole
biased.
is like Alcatraz right now, and a few little prisoners are about to escape. If you catch my drift.
I wonder how much longer
Well, you know, I probably could
if
pop
I
it up.
keep rambling until you
I
crap
desperately
yourself on
want
the
you just to
podcast.
read so bad.
What if I did it though? What if I sat here?
It took
for
a while to
What
try
if-
to convince
what
my
if we
friend to
waited?
come with me. He was really scared, but I had to get
Perfect.
all my stuff.
It'll be even longer with
Yeah, with me reading, no shit.
All right. It took a while to try to convince my friend to come with me. He was really scared, but I had to get my stuff out, and that meant spending a few more nights there. Why? Why would you do that?
seems stupid.
Anyway, so last month, me and my friend went back to the house. Just one friend, by the way. Unarmed, I imagine. As soon as we entered, he let out a sigh. I asked what was wrong, and he just replied with,
He's been making some changes around here. What changes? Well,
Oh, that's only
took food out of your fridge. Your clothes are torn.
Kind of why.
I think it's even slept in your bed. It's not gonna like you being back. Oh, that's funny. I'm gonna assure that thing that I'm not saying.
yeah, I feel
does
there's
that
some
mean?
weird language here and stuff like that. Maybe English is a second language. I don't know. I'm gonna assure that thing that I'm not staying. Like I'm gonna make sure it knows that I'm not sticking around. This is its house.
Oh, I'm
now.
not staying. Okay, I'm gonna assure that thing that I'm not staying. I'll leave. Oh my fuck! I'll leave soon enough, and I'll be free to. And it'll be free to torment whoever comes here next. I fucking hate my life. Right? I hope you guys are reading the screen because I'm like a nonsensical fucking schizophrenic right now reading this shit. God, I hate myself. I hate my fucking ape brain.
How's that milk doing, buddy?
It's not good. Not good.
So we started packing and cleaning. It's a bit harder for me, and we called for backup. My other friend, Jessica, she refused to come without her boyfriend. Now, the four of us versus that thing meant it would be too scared to do anything. Yeah, you hope.
Yeah, what the fuck?
That's what
Where
hope
are you
would
getting
happen.
that? What math? Where are you getting that math from?
I didn't know much about it, but from its behavior, I learned it mainly focused on me. And when its transformation would be complete, it would try to take over my life and send me to the other place, down the stairs. We worked on it for a few days, and what we'd left was just some furniture to be moved. I was extremely grateful for my friend's support, who, unlike my sister, believed me from the beginning. We'd had so little to do
Oh, yeah,
left.
so
Just some
fast.
furniture, as I said. So little.
Oh, I've increased
I hadn't
the,
expected it to end
ability.
like this. It was me, my friend, the one who saw the footage first,
Hello,
we'll call him
number
Adam,
19.
and my sister Lisa.
More?
They were downstairs wrapping up the TV, and I was upstairs lifting up the mattress. I could hear their voices downstairs.
Yeah, like that. Wait, no. Hold it. Hold it. You're not holding it so heavy. Okay, now help me up with the wrapper. Yeah. You dropped it on my foot. Please just be careful. Bring me the scissors. I'm thinking I'll just cut this tape up like this.
I'd mostly asked them to speak more just so I wouldn't listen to the silence. Silence for me meant danger.
I have the juice.
After a while, they stopped talking. I could only hear the sound of footsteps and things being dragged around.
Oh, fuck. Lisa? Adam?
No answer.
Guys?
My heart dropped. I made my way downstairs. I subconsciously counted the steps. 16. Whatever.
Lisa. Adam.
No answer. Feeling around, the house was empty. No one was in the living room. No one was in the kitchen. Just boxes and clothes. I sat on the couch, listening, hoping to hear some footsteps, but I was only greeted by silence. So heavy, almost a being of its own. I had the urge to leave. Made my way to the front door, but just as I was about to turn the doorknob, something, this feeling, stopped me. I turned around and pressed my back on the door, feeling the phone in my pocket.
Hey, Siri. Call Lisa.
She picked up.
Yeah? Will? Is that you?
Yes, where are you? Where are you, Lisa? Where's Adam? Why would you leave like this? You know you shouldn't leave me here alone.
What do you mean?
Where are you?
In the living room? Will, where are you?
In the goddamn living room. There's no one here.
I don't understand. You came down the stairs and you're now sitting on the couch looking at me? Who is this? Who's calling me from your phone?
It's me, Lisa. It's me. I'm telling you, I'm in the living room.
And who is sitting on the couch if it's not you?
Ah, shit.
The moment of realization hit both of us gradually. I knew who was on the couch or what was on the couch, and I knew that wherever I was, that wasn't my house anymore.
3 book.
I'd finally managed to go down to the other place, and the thing had come back up, but this time with a more efficient disguise.
Listen to me, Lisa. That is not me. I need you to leave the house. Take Adam with you. Please, just get out.
When combat.
Suddenly, she said something that shocked me.
Trigger 2 seconds. Trigger.
How do I know?
2 seconds slower. I'll take that.
How do you know what?
Coffins. Learn how to
It's
harvest
not you.
coffins for
On
bones,
the couch.
jewelry, and precious gems.
It's the thing just sort of staring at you?
Yeah?
Well,
Blades,
move around a bit.
onyx.
It knows I'm blind, so it'll
Oh.
pretend if it's blind too. If you do something unexpected and it follows you with its eyes, you'll know.
Okay.
I didn't hear much next, just movement, and then I could hear her say,
Oh my god, it's true. What do I do now? Will, I'm scared.
I don't think it'll hurt you. Just don't let it know you know it's not me. Wouldn't it know already if on the phone call? It doesn't matter. Okay. I'll just go back upstairs and I hope I can somehow make it out.
Do you think it understands what we're saying?
I don't know.
I need harvesting.
Because if it
tools,
does,
not salvage tools.
then it also knows it no. Then it also knows it no. Jesus
it knows
Christ.
it no, then it also knows it no. I felt helpless. For the first time in my life, I wished I could see so badly. I just wanted to get out of whatever this place was, back to my real house, but I could not find the staircase. I was stuck. What if I wasn't going to make it out of this place?
Please stay on the phone with me.
Okay. Adam, come here. No.
What?
He talked to the thing. He thought it was you.
And what's going on?
Adam, here. Take the phone.
I heard Adam's voice.
Yeah?
Adam, listen. This is me. This is Will. I'm stuck in this place. That up there is not me. Please don't talk to it. Don't let it know you know it's a copy.
What? Will? Is that you? Are you serious?
Shut up, shut up!
Oh, buddy, don't touch me. Stay there, freak. I need to call the police.
Don't call the police! If it knows you don't believe it's an illusion, I don't know what it will do.
Lisa, take this. I'm calling the police. I'm tired of this shit.
I heard some muffled voices and then Lisa again.
Maybe it's good that he's calling the police, right? Maybe the thing doesn't understand we know it's not real.
She stopped.
Don't act scared of it, Lisa. Act normal!
I'm trying, but it just stood up now.
Please! I don't know what I can do!
It's walking towards me. I'm just scared. Ew, what the fuck?
What?
I listened as her voice changed from confusion to disgust to fear to terror.
What? Lisa! Adam!
Couldn't make out what she was saying. At some point, I thought I heard Adam. I was still desperate to feel around for that staircase. I heard a thud, meaning she dropped the phone, and some screams, then muffled crying, and some sounds I could not make out. At this point, my whole body was tensed up, and my heart was beating so hard I was about to faint. The more noises I heard, the more I was convinced something sinister had happened, and as much as I tried to deny it, I knew.
Is that what I need?
I had no chance but to listen to this scene through the phone, unable to help, and even if I'd been able to get out of this place, I couldn't see anything either. At some point, after I'd screamed my lungs out, my face drenched in sweat and tears, the noise stopped and the silence remained. The silence. I hate silence. I kept wailing, hoping someone would respond. Could have been hours until I got a response, but not the one I hoped I would get. I heard some harsh movement and then this hoarse, rotten voice. That wasn't even a voice, but something like an animal trying to mimic a human.
I think I'll just sleep.
One of these.
For
heal up a little
some,
bit.
it would have been comical, but I knew that was just one of the phrases I used to say. It had just mimicking me
Does lower
again.
my
Bring me the
sound on the clock.
lightning.
Use that instead. Oh, well.
Lightning.
It does lower my thirst or increase my thirst, but
I listened, petrified. Meanwhile,
it's okay.
my foot hit something. Stairs. Was it letting me go? I climbed up the stairs and found myself in the hallway. I could feel the familiar carpet under my feet.
You used
I
to
went
be able to find
downstairs and
guns in these. I don't
sensed
know
the
if
smell that I
you're still
couldn't
able to find-
identify.
Or handguns in these.
The floor was slippery.
I don't know if it's
Lisa,
still possible.
Adam,
I heard something run up the stairs. Just like that, I knew the thing had left for now.
Yeah.
My mind wasn't on the creature, but on Adam and Lisa.
guys.
Walking around on the slippery floor, my foot hit something. It felt like hair. Nothing in the world could describe how I felt in that moment. There's nothing I can type down here which will help you visualize, because not everything feels like something else. There's no analogy I can make. When you discover a crime scene, you usually see it first.
Take all that,
I had
guess.
I've just been walking around the bodies clueless for a good few minutes. You know how it feels to not know if something is blood until you slip on it? To have to see if someone is alive by desperately feeling around her to find their hand, neck, pulse. Just crawl around in their blood, running your hands through the mess, trying desperately to see any signs of life, calling out their name. I heard the door open. I realized the police had come. Adam had probably called them, and they had finally managed to make an appearance. They found me, obviously, covered in their blood, next to them. I didn't even know what the creature had actually done to them. No matter how hard I tried, they would not listen to me. They thought I was crazy. The next following days were a blur. Luckily, I had the footage of the thing from the past months and the testimony of my remaining friends and family. Plus, Adam's call that clearly said, something is pretending to be my friend and it may hurt us. They had downloaded the footage of the actual murder, but they refused to describe it to me. They just asked me to rest. But I can't, because no matter what, I want revenge. I'm determined to find out the story of this thing, the story of this house, and its weird portal staircase, and I want to kill this creature, even if it's the last thing I do. For now, this is my final update. Most might post more on my account, depending on what I come across. For now, I need rest. I've begun seeing a therapist, and I'm recovering. I still get nightmares. I wonder what I could have done better, but the truth is, I think I was doomed from the beginning. From the moment I counted one extra step on my staircase, the nightmare had begun.
And that is the story.
And that is the story. That was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The tension was really well done.
Yeah,
I feel like she is not justified for going back to the house, and I think she's directly responsible for her friend's death.
Yeah, 100%. I think that the only part where the story kind of slips up for me is that kind of rationalization of, I think that the monster should have left the house, like it gathered enough, and it should have been trying to find her or something. Going back
Should've
there
been
and
outside the
staying
house,
and like putting people in that predicament is a bit silly.
Yeah, that was a bit too much. I also feel like I am glad it didn't do the thing I thought it was going to do, where it's like I am now in jail for my friend's murder. But it was like, no, the police like saw the footage and then they were like, you should go home.
Yeah, I think
And robotic turds.
I don't know. I kind of wish we never even went to that angle. I kind of almost just be trapped in the house. Now she's just kind of riding there forever, but she can't leave. The portal aspect, I'm not really totally sold on either. Kind of wish that it's like this, if it was this thing's house. Because also, I made this connection earlier of when she's like, so I bought this new house, and people said it's a mansion. And I was like, I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like you're an author and you're getting this mansion. But it's like, if it's this weird place that people have like, they don't want to buy, or it has some weird history that she doesn't know about, of course, this large house might be super cheap. But if the thing is living inside of it, trying to like mimic somebody, you know, maybe it's like something where it like opens up a door and like the staircase is extended down into some weird cellar. You
That's
know,
what
just
I was
something
thinking. That's what my mind was, that there's like a house underneath the house and they switch. It's like mirrored. Yeah.
But that being said, I don't think that the ending completely didn't just like trip and stumble. I still think it landed it, albeit a bit shaky. But I love the idea of like just like taking an element of someone being blind and throwing like a home invasion twist into that. Like, I think
honestly
it's really
think that segment where she's sitting on the couch watching The Bachelor and she goes from turning on the AC to feeling it set down is like an all-time moment. Like that
yeah,
was so
one of the
well done,
strongest
that whole
creepy
segment.
moments. It felt similar to like in Pen Pal, we're on the river and like the person's on the outside watching them, like, you know, and running through.
Is that your favorite moment? Is that your favorite moment from any story we've covered?
Which moment?
The Pen Pal River moment.
That might be, yeah. I remember that one being the creep. It just the way it was described, and even like the woman in the house and the old woman that he used to be friends with. It was really nice. That one, and also whenever the thing was like living under the like under the, what is it, the porch or whatever. They thought that was great too. Yeah, I don't know. This story was awesome. I think that I really like that it was short, sweet, and not tons of fat. All, like I said, albeit it seems like trying to explain this like weird portal thing or how they came across that is kind of like it's a little doesn't stick the landing precisely to, you know, what I'm saying, but I'm just being, you know, just trying to, I guess, justify the thoughts I'm having that are running through my head right now. But I'm also diarrhea ridden, so
You are. So we'll go ahead and get over it. I will say one last time that you can check out Helena over on Buy Me a Coffee, whatever. And you can buy more parts to this very story. So that's a cool model to have, like, your story set up, and then it's like, well, there's a sequel to it if you want over here. So if you're interested, you can check that out, or just support her online. Check out her Reddit at Emma Watson but Dumber. But yeah, thank you very much, Helena, for such a cool story.
Yeah,
that was great. I really loved that, and a much needed change from last week's, if I might add.
Yeah, I think that I'd love to just check out more of what this author has done, and just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
had tons of fun, and just appreciate how to the point it was. It doesn't linger or anything like that. It's really to the point, and it delivers the scares in a fun way. Very elegant in how it's written. So all in all, fucking amazing. We appreciate you. And just want to say thank you guys so much for, if you were listening to this on Spotify, thank you so much for listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcast. It does help us out. We appreciate it. And until next time, everyone, you stay scared, you fucking imbeciles. We'll see you next time.
Well, that was a little harsh. I'll just say that I love you, and I hope it was creepy. Bye. Checkmate, Hunter.
Bring me a beer. If you want a job from me moving, jackass, just don't pay my.
こんにちは、ハンターハンコックです。パパミトチャンネルを運営してます。今グッズセール社会です。あなたの体を覆う服です。服の下に隠された恥やその恐ろしいものを隠すためのシャツ、ブティシャツ、普通のシャツ、それからボタンシャツなど。
Hi, I'm recording this from my house.
Welcome back to Creepcast. Today, God, dude, I feel like we're martyrs right now. Today, we're doing something that hasn't been
We're
done
heroes,
in
Hunter.
years. Years. This is not grace. This is beautiful sight. And let me tell you, dear, beautiful, beautiful viewer, you're probably watching something that's going to get deleted very soon. So buckle in. And before we go into all the introductions to this wonderful story, I just want to say thank you so much for the support on the merch drop so far. We do have new merch right now. Creepcast.store. Or .shop, I don't know, whichever one it is. Put it up on the screen. There it is. What is it? .store? I think it's .store. Creepcast.store. Check it out. We got a bunch of new stuff there. If you want to support the channel, or if you want to get some new kicks, feel free to check it out there. And also, please check us out on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Check us out on Spotify there. Give us a nice rating. It really does help us out. Now, without further ado, today we are reading The Spire in the Woods. Now, Isaiah, can you give us a nice backstory as to why no one's touched this story?
Yeah, so The Spire in the Woods, also known as The Bells, is a story that was written by Tony Lundy around 2013, 2014, I believe. And everyone really liked this story. I don't think I ever read it, but I remember people talking this thing up as being like one of the greats. As a matter of fact, it got so much traction that the story got optioned for a film, I believe, that Steven Spielberg was set to produce.
Steven fucking Spielberg is producing it. Yeah.
It was going to be a huge deal. But when the story got optioned, because of that, the story became the copyright of the studio. So anyone who had ever covered this story got nuked into orbit. Like all the creepypasta readings of it got taken down. All of the reposting or audio versions of the story got taken down. The story itself got removed from r/nosleep and creepypasta.com.
r/nosleep. Also, the physical copy that was on Amazon has been removed. And the only listing that I see of the Amazon book is on eBay for $250 fucking dollars. If you have a physical copy of this, you're sitting on gold, my friends. Okay?
Yeah, it is like lost media territory of like treasured relics, right? Because it was a very beloved story that now you cannot buy, you cannot read anywhere because of the way optioning works. Now, it was to be made into a movie, and to my knowledge, it's still in kind of like production hell or purgatory, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Of like, we don't know where it's going. Now, typically, this is where me and Hunter's martyrdom comes into play.
Yes.
Typically, with these optionings, the way it works is whenever the story goes up for option, there is an amount of time where like a company buys it and then they remove like other people who are, it's so dumb, but they remove other people talking about the story or other editions of the story because it's
that's what happened
property.
that's what happened to my cartoon Wabbit season. Literally, Wabbit season got nuked into oblivion. I found this out later. Was because one, they did a deep purge of everything with Wabbit, bugs, and everything whenever HBO Max came out, because they were putting that Looney Tunes property up on it, and they were wiping everything as off of the internet of it for an incentive for people to sign up for Max to watch Looney Tunes in 2020, as if we're children in 1965 wanting to watch Looney Tunes. So there's that.
That is so absurd. It's ridiculous. It's very stupid. Now, here's the thing. You can currently, right now, still upload stuff related to Wabbit or Rabbit, right? Because that period's done.
Yeah, the hype, the heat around that time is done.
The heat around it's done. So, even though everyone who's talked about Spire in the Woods has been launched into orbit, Hunter and I think that it has been long enough that this story can now get posted without us immediately getting shot in the back of the head.
This is gonna get deleted so quick.
So fast.
It's gonna get deleted, but here's the thing.
We hit upload with that in the title, we're gone.
Here's the thing. It sounds like it's a fucking amazing story, and trust me, with other stuff, like we've worked with other publishers, of course, before, and we've, if someone owns the rights to the story, we are more than happy to pay. We work with publishers all the time.
We will pay whatever you want.
Read stuff on here.
Yes, yeah.
But if it's unreasonable like this, yes.
Several publishers reach out to us, and they're like, look, we just want, a cut. We have never ignored that. We've always said, yes, absolutely. Here's our payment. Here's us paying dues. We get it. Yes.
Every time. And you guys have have been amazing because usually whenever we read these
supporting the
stories,
stories.
you guys always go out and support the stories. It's fucking awesome. But at this current place in time, this is terrorism. Okay, this is Hollywood being fucking terrorists like normal, and they've scrubbed it to where you can't even buy the fucking book, dude. And it's an amazing story. So I say this. I say we fucking chassis up and we try reading the story because I want to know what it's about. I think that you deserve to know what it's about, and I bet you anything, our boy Tony wants us to know what's the story out there, dude. You know, as much as I would love to have Steven Spielberg's fucking chody cock down my throat, I want people to read my story. I want people to know my story. You know what I'm saying? As much as I love Jaws, bro.
Like,
I want to get that story out there. So that's what we're doing today.
Hunter and I are basically heroes right now. Okay.
Yeah. Tony's going to message us and be like, I hope you guys burn in hell.
Hunter and I are basically heroes.
Yeah.
Because, like, the two of us are, like, the nukes went off, right? It is so bad that the only audio version of the story I could find is someone ripped Mr. Creepypasta's audio reading and uploaded it in 3 parts to SoundCloud. Okay. That is like the level of devastation that story
You know
has
what?
gone online.
If it burns out, at least we know for now that some people got to listen to it. And also, I'll be just completely honest, I've been wanting to read it. And the only way we're reading it right now is the Wayback Machine on creepypasta.com.
We are using the Wayback Machine.
We are using the
to
fucking
access
Wayback Machine.
A deleted creepypasta.com page.
Yes, it's that dire straits. But you know what? I say fuck the studios. And you know, here's the thing too. We've done stuff. We wanted to read The Troop, and that's in a I think movie deal as well right now. I think that was another problem. Yeah. But you know, we talked to the author and stuff. It is what it is. Or I don't know if we talked to the author or the publishing people. I think we
talked to the publishing company.
We talked to the publishing company, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. It's kind of it is what it is." Which sure, that's fine. But I don't even know if Tony's alive. I feel like the fucking WB has taken Tony. I don't know where he's at. We've tried reaching out to him and doing all kinds of stuff. And we've had to have all these fucking like back market conversations with other YouTube channels who are like, bro, don't do it. I'm telling you.
It's a bunch of guys that are like, oh, I've heard of Tony. Yeah, I can pass word through the grapevine, see if it gets back to him.
After the great cleansing, no one's heard of him. So you know, it's been that kind of thing. So I think, you know what? Fuck it. It's the great year of 2025. Let's read Spire in the Woods, dude. Without any further ado.
This is the equivalent. Look. This is the equivalent of like in the Fallout video game series. Like all the nukes have fallen. Hunter and I are the first vault dwellers to like step into the wasteland. Like, see what's out there. You know, maybe we get shot in the head. Maybe we explode.
Yeah, and
that is a sign to the other vaults. Like, give it some more time.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a little bit.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a sign. Give it a time more time. YouTube's copyright system are the giant demons walking around, lurking like those giant monsters in Fallout. Whatever.
The Death Claw.
Yes. YouTube's copyright system is the Death Claw walking around.
So you know what?
I just have a fucking Pocket Boy or whatever the fuck it's called wrapped around my wrist.
Pit Boy.
Yeah.
Maybe Hunter and I are like, you know, we're putting on our little blue jumpsuits. We're like, all right, Hunter, let's reclaim the world. Maybe the vault door opens and there are 15 death claws with sledgehammers waiting right outside the door.
If that's what it has to be, that's what it has to be, you know?
And if that's what happens, then that means give it some time.
Give it some time.
A little bit longer.
Give it some time. All right. Yeah, we might have a strike on our channel. Give it some time. That's all you have to say. And I will say, you know, we're just prefacing this because also this is a long story. So buckle in, guys, because today's going to be a long one. I'm actually very excited, though.
I'm excited as well. We'll go ahead and get into it. Thank you guys for the support. For the 15 of you who managed to watch this before we're beat to death.
Yeah, be proud, stand tall.
ID system.
Be proud, stand tall. And also, once again, creepcast.store. Thank you guys so much for supporting the merch, supporting us on the audio platforms like Apple's Podcast and Spotify. It really does help us out. We appreciate it a lot. So let's do it, Isaiah.
Let's get into it. Part 1.
Part 1.
Robert Edward Kinnan killed himself in the fall of 1999.
Already off to a good start.
Already.
As soon as a episode or a story begins with a suicide, I'm like, all right, I'm buckled in. I'm ready.
Like so behind the death clause that are the copyright system, there's a bunch of those. What are those? The big wasp things from Fallout New Vegas.
The centaurs. I've never played any of them.
The big morphed humans, the centaurs, right behind the death claws are those, and that is the YouTube, not copyright, the content ID system, because now we're talking about killing yourself immediately into an episode. So if the death claws don't get us, then those centaurs back there will.
The only knowledge I have of Fallout is just Krobcat's videos he's done on Fallout. That's about it. So
That's rough.
I know.
That's rough. Fallout New Vegas is an all timer.
that's what people
But
say.
The rest is,
I think it's over. I want to know right now, is it overhyped? That's what I want to know.
Well, maybe by some people, but I think it's one of the last. We are so off topic. It's one of the last like old school choose your own adventure like kind of sandbox games where you can.
I think that we should let's just literally restart with Robert Edward Kinnan killed himself. Let's just start from the top.
One more time in case they didn't get us.
In the back.
Robert Edward Kinnan killed himself in the fall of 1999. I wasn't there, but it's where my story begins. It begins with Rob, 17 years old, sitting in a burning car in the middle of a crowded parking lot one Monday night in October. He burned for nearly 4 hours before the police let the firemen near enough to put out the flames and pull out his body. I didn't know him. Not really. We lived in a small town. I knew him by sight, knew his name, but I doubt we'd ever exchanged more than a few perfunctory words. It makes me feel funny talking about him, like I'm not justified doing it. But if I'm going to tell you about the Spire, it's unavoidable. I have to tell you about Robert Edward Kinnan and how the suicide notes he left behind tangled my life up with his. Back then, we both lived in a sleepy town in New England, a little over an hour northwest of Boston, just across the New Hampshire border. It's the sort of place that's nice to live if you're the sort of person that doesn't like doing very much. There's really only 3 reasons anyone ever steps foot in my hometown. The first is that they're on their way to Nashaw, the shopping mecca of the Northeast. The second would be the ice cream. We have a dairy farm where they sell the world's best ice cream, all of it made right there on the premises. And the third is because they bought one of those haunted New England books. Usually, you can find our town listed in those books twice. The first entry will likely be the story of how our high school, which is one of the 10 oldest in the country, came to have the Silver Spectre as its mascot. I always loved the Spectre. It reflected how steeped in folklore rural New England once was, and as mascots go, it's much more interesting than the fighting, fill in the cat species here, everywhere else seems saddled with. Bro, that I got called out by that one. Every single town around where I grew up, I can think of the fighting bobcats, the fighting tigers,
cougars.
the fighting lions, the cougars, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was either that or the bulldogs. I feel like
That was my high school. My high school was the Bulldogs.
That's funny. I like immediately this kind of world building. How it feels like natural, right? Like his description of like, well, we have the world's best ice cream. It's also haunted. Silver Spectre is a cool mascot.
Did he say
Feels
where-
very like conversational.
Yeah, northwest of Boston. So yeah, it's a very classic, kind of cold, dreary fall. I just picturing a fallish tone, northeast town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
Stephen
That also
King-y kind
explains,
of deal.
That's what I was about to say. That explains Spielberg's interest because this feels like a classic, like old Stephen King type film, you know? Way back in the 1890s, there was a terrible blizzard, a proper nor'easter. It dumped several feet of snow across the whole region. There were many, many casualties, mostly the very young and very old stuck in their homes without heat. One of the exceptions, who was neither very young nor very old, was Jennifer Wilkins. She was a teacher trapped in the school when the blizzard hit. What little food there was in the schoolhouse couldn't have lasted more than 2 days, and folks say by the 5th, she had resorted to boiling her boots to soften up the leather for eating. It was 2 weeks before anyone was able to reach her. They found her, body thin as a matchstick, wrapped up in a gray wool blanket. If only they'd had paste in those days, she might have made it. That's kind of mean. It's like, oh, maybe if they had glue there, she could eat that, idiot. That old schoolhouse is now our town rec center. Supposedly, old Jenny still haunts its halls, wrapped in that gray wool blanket. Her hollow, emaciated visage, searching in vain for something to eat. Once, when I was 8 or 9 years old, long before I knew the origins of the Silver Spectre, I went up into the rec center's attic alone. It was August, and I'd snuck away from the rest of the summer reading program and my own interminable boredom. The dusty attic was filled with broken furniture and plastic bins containing the crafting supplies for all of the daycare programs. It would have been entirely forgettable if not for the drafts. The summer had been hot and humid, but in the rec center's attic, if you stepped in the wrong spot, it'd get so cold you could practically see your breath. I told my mom about it. She was the one who told me about Jenny. I never went back up there alone. The second story you typically find in those books is about the Blood Cemetery. Okay, all right, now we're talking. Now we are locked in. There we go. Its real name is the Pine Hill Cemetery, but nobody calls it that. They call it the Blood Cemetery because it's supposedly haunted by Abel Blood and his family. According to legend, Abel Blood lived in the center of what is now the cemetery back when it was farmland. He returned from the fields early one day to find his wife in bed with another man, a tall, dark-haired stranger. Abel was stunned. How could Mrs. Blood, a good Christian woman, do such a thing? Obviously, this scoundrel was forcing himself on his wife. Abel retrieved his pitchfork and charged back into the house, his mind full of vengeance. But as he drew near, he heard his wife, mid-coitus, proclaim her love for the black-haired stranger, and with a note of satisfaction to her call that Abel had never heard before. Mr. Blood saw red. That's rough. Not only is she calling out for him, but that note of with the note of satisfaction he never heard before.
That's such a fucking brutal thing.
That's
Every
rough,
man
buddy. I would have killed them too.
Every man listening to this just became so insecure.
He burst into the room, pitchfork held aloft, and ran them through. Over and over, he plunged the fork into their tangled bodies before finally leaving them pinned, one on top of the other, to the bed beneath them. Looking at the bloody mess he'd made, Abel found his rage had not diminished. This seemed curious to Abel, but it dawned on him why when he spied a picture of his family on the mantle. His children didn't look anything like him, nor like their mother. They were all exceptionally tall, with full heads of somewhat greasy black hair.
Oh, odd. That'd be so fucked. Do you,
bro.
Or keep reading. I had a thought, but keep reading.
Abel waited, standing in the puddle of blood that had only moments ago been coursing through. Standing in the puddle of blood only moments ago that had been coursing through Mrs. Blood and her lover, and stewed in his ever-deepening anger. He was a cuckold. He had no heir. That's so funny. He had no heir. He'd been raising another man's children, a man who had been bedding Abel's wife. For years, Abel waited and stewed for several hours until his 4 children arrived home from school.
Oh, no.
They say his sons and eldest daughter put up a noble fight, but they were children fighting a grown man whose muscles had been hardened by a lifetime of farm labor. Only Abel's youngest daughter, barely 5 years old, made it out of the house alive. She sprinted as fast as her little legs could carry her in a desperate attempt to reach her neighbors. But even with her head start, her little legs were no match for her father's powerful strides. Just as she scrambled up over the stone wall separating their farm from the Hollises, Abel picked up one of the stones and smashed it down on her head. These days, if you go there, on the road that borders the cemetery, you'll see this curve full of skid marks. People say that they are caused by cars swerving to avoid an oddly dressed little girl who runs out into the street each night.
Oh, that's cool.
I gotta say, this being your setup for like your haunted town is so cool.
Well,
This
yeah,
is like the Blood Cemetery. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love the amount of like almost folk legends, how thorough the folk legends are immediately in this like small, cold northeastern town. Really fun,
Yeah.
like almost like Sleepy Hollow vibes of like, you know, the ghost of a little girl who got murdered by her cuckold dad. And that's why there's skid marks here, because she always runs across the road right here. Just little stuff like that's nice, but then even just like little world building stuff too, of like, you know, it reminds me of like almost Sling Blade or something when he catches his mom having sex with somebody, or whenever the dad catches his mom cheating on him, whatever. I think that's like a just these little vignettes and little moments really add to the mystique of the town. While it's haunting, it's really fun, isn't it? Like it's like a little kind of like you were saying before, classic ghost story type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's cool. Back home, we had a rite of passage. As soon as one of your friends, were old enough to drive, you had to trespass into the Blood Cemetery at night and make a rubbing of the Blood family's gravestones. I did it. And you should feel free to. Be prepared to be disappointed because none of the Bloods died on the same date. A lot of ghost stories are like that. Doesn't mean they're not fun, but once you come to realize as you get older is that they're mostly a form of social control. Jennifer Wilkins really did die a horrible death, but the story of Abel Blood is nothing but a fantasy story with a rather dark, misogynistic message. Cheat on your husband and he'll kill you. I loved ghost stories growing up. Loved them. That's what gave me my not entirely unearned reputation as the spooky kid. It was the reason that about a month after he died, Rob Kinnon's suicide note wound up in my lap. There, buried in the middle of apologies to his family and clear evidence of severe depression, was my first push towards the spire in the woods. The only ghost story I truly believe. Oh, brother. Oh, what a opening.
Now our protagonist is led to believe that 17, correct? Or just Rob was 17 when he killed himself?
I think he was 17.
Okay.
I think he was also 17. I think they were the same age.
Okay.
Yeah, and Rob also burned to death in his car, which is a brutal way.
Well, also
for 4 hours.
Just the addition of like it was 4 hours before police would let them go near it or whatever. It's just pretty fucking insane.
Yeah.
Excessively grisly, you know.
Yeah, that's a pretty rough way to go.
It's time to talk about something scary. Your health. I know I don't go to the doctor as much as I should. I have a diabetic foot that's rotting off, but I ignore that every day of my life. If I'm bleeding or feeling sick, I'll just lie in bed and sleep it away. That's only because I don't want to deal with appointments and talking to insurance ladies, you know. Ugh. That's why I use ZocDoc. ZocDoc is the free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors. Choose the right one for your needs and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much, much more. And the nice thing about ZocDoc is that you can filter for doctors that take your insurance, are nearby, and are highly rated. It's super easy to use, and you can find an appointment time that works for you with the right doctor that fits your needs. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. Oh, you don't want to admit it, but you should probably see a doctor. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/creepcast to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/creepcast. ZocDoc.com/creepcast. Thank you, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this spooky episode. Let's get scared again.
In 1999, I was a sophomore in high school. Rob was a senior. He wasn't what you'd call real popular. Part of it was that he wasn't born in my hometown, but moved there in the 7th grade, right when kids are at their cruelest. First I ever heard of him was a year later. There was a rumor floating around that he and a mentally handicapped girl were found naked in the woods together. The implication being that he tricked her into having sex with him. A couple of years later, I heard another that his parents were forced to move because Rob had been molested by their old priest down in Amherst. Those are some rough rumors to spread around about a guy. Oh man. To the best of my knowledge, these stories are entirely untrue. And I'm deeply ashamed to admit that when I was in the 6th grade, I did gleefully repeat that first one. I found it funny at the time. The second I also repeated, just not as glibly. I whispered it to my friends, adopting a sage tone and offering it as an explanation for why the first rumor was probably true. I felt so damn smart. I had the inside scoop, something interesting to say, and everyone wanted to listen to me. I wish I kept my mouth shut. I wasn't smart. I was just kicking the kid while he was down, spreading the lies that may have contributed to him killing himself. The rumors followed Rob everywhere. He was a quiet kid. By all accounts, very bright and kind. And I want to be clear here, he did have people who cared about him. Friends. Not many, and maybe they weren't too popular either, but they were there and they were nice guys. One of them was my ride to school. Nathan Fletcher. Fletch and I lived in the same neighborhood. We were never all that close, but we got along well enough. He was a lovable goofball, always saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, but it never got him down. He had this grin that stretched from ear to ear, and he always managed to get me excited about his latest musical discovery or restoration project. Fletch used to buy old cars, fix them up, and resell them. While it helped pad his savings for college, it also meant he was stuck driving whatever hunk of junk he hadn't managed to fix up enough to sell yet. That year, Fletch was driving a 1984 Honda Civic. I still hate that car. I found out something was wrong on Tuesday morning when Fletch's rust bucket didn't show up in my driveway like it usually did. Instead, his dad, an Air Force officer, nowhere near as affable as his son, was waiting for me. I liked Mr. Fletcher fine. He was a good, if not particularly affectionate father to his boys and a respectful neighbor. But his presence in my driveway was odd, especially since I could see that Fletch wasn't in the car.
Sir, is everything okay with Nate? Yeah, he's fine. We're just giving him the day off from school. Come on, grab your bag. I'll explain on the way.
Mr. Fletcher turned around and started back towards his car before he'd even finished speaking. I grabbed my backpack and hustled after him.
Did you know the Kinnan boy?
He asked as we pulled out of my driveway.
Not really. I mean, I know who he is. One of Nate's friends.
Mr. Fletcher nodded, never taking his eye off the road.
He killed himself last night.
He said it as evenly as if he'd been announcing we needed to stop for gas.
He what?
My brain couldn't even process what I was hearing. I'd seen Rob Kinnan in the hallway yesterday. How could he be dead? Mr. Fletcher proceeded to lay out the cold, dry facts. Rob had hand-delivered a letter to the house around 7 p.m. Fletch wasn't home when Rob dropped it off, so he didn't open it until later that night, at 9:45 or so. Upon reading the letter, Fletch went white as a ghost and tore out of the house without permission. He raced to, I'm going to omit this detail, just know it's the location that Rob killed himself. But when he arrived, the car was already burning. Apparently the letter was a suicide note.
Nathan's too upset for school.
Something in how he said it made it seem like Mr. Fletcher was implying there was something unmanly about his 17-year-old son being too upset to sit through pre-calculus after one of his best friends killed himself.
He should have called you. I didn't think to, and it didn't occur to me until it was too late for you to catch the bus. Sorry about that.
My initial shock gave way to resentment. No one could have made Rob Kinnan's suicide pleasant news, but it was difficult to imagine anyone being more callous than Mr. Fletcher. No wonder Fletch complained about his father so much.
Don't worry about it.
We rode the rest of the way in silence. I got to school and found it changed. Compared to the day before, it was an alien landscape. It reminded me of Tartarus in Greek mythology. A bunch of people milling about, a vacant and lost look in their eyes, unsure of what to do, what to say to one another. Friends clustered silently in small groups. It was like Rob's funeral was being held in the hallways. Classes weren't canceled, but nothing was done. Mainly, the teachers made us aware of special counseling being offered for anyone closely affected and told us that we could come to them if we ever needed to. Their nerves were also frayed. I recall specifically my study hall teacher, normally a very soft-spoken man, banging his hand on his desk and swearing that it was
Completely fucking unnecessary.
adding a moment later that
No one needs to do that. No one.
we, all of us, drifted through the day in a haze. You'd hug your friend and ask them how they were holding up or how well they knew Rob. You'd hear about who was there that night at the omitted location. It was a popular teen hangout. And you heard about the cops that could have saved him, but didn't. I mentioned earlier that Rob Kinnan was left in his burning car for 4 hours. This is not an exaggeration. It was 4 hours. Later reports said less time had passed, but Fletch was there, screaming himself hoarse. Screaming at cops and firemen and anyone who would listen that was his friend in there and he was dying. It was 4 hours. Being teenagers, we were quick to question the actions of the police, but I now believe that, while their delay proved to be without merit, they made the best decision they could have with the information available to them. Rob hadn't lit himself on fire to be dramatic. He didn't intend for there to be a fire at all. Rob had wanted to shoot himself but couldn't acquire a gun, so he built one. There's so many dynamics happening and so much this. Okay. This is good. I'm very invested. I'm getting progressively more upset that you can't find the story anymore by legitimate means.
Yeah,
the more I go on.
it's unfortunate. I do wonder. It is odd though, isn't it? 4 hours and not doing
Yes.
like nothing. That's extremely suspicious. Like the more that it's brought up, the more I'm like, well, why would you wait that long?
I think we're about to get an explanation to it, but I'm sure because it's enough that our author is saying like, I now understand why the police did that. So it's got to be something, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, also he would die in how many seconds of being burned alive?
I mean, it takes It'd be shorter than
If
4
you're-
hours.
if you're
but if
torched-
you're on fire, you don't die that quick.
If you're
It
being
takes a bit.
if you're being consumed, engulfed in flames, there's no way you're gonna live for more than a minute, right? I mean, you're fucking. You would first. I think you would suffocate. I mean, not only would you be your flesh is burning, but also like suffocation. I mean, like maybe 2 minutes at max.
2 minutes, I would say. I think it would depend on the heat of the flames
Also,
and
also,
like,
yeah, like
the
the heat-
ventilation.
Your
Yeah.
fucking brain would melt. Your brain would get too
I mean,
hot. You'd black out.
it's an awful way to go out.
horrible,
Of
horrible.
course, yeah. But I do think, I think within 2 minutes you're dead.
Let
I'd
me
say.
see.
Let me pull up my statistics on this. Let me pull up my catalog of times it takes people to die by different means.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I was trying to look something up, but it's mostly like if you were
Smoke
burning,
inhalation.
if you were burning and they saved you, like it's giving me the stuff afterwards, but it's not something like, oh, like if you were burning to death, it would take X amount of time for your heart to stop or whatever. But anyways,
Yeah, you're right. We should conduct more research about it. Back then, in the 90s, in a pre-9/11 world, terrorism wasn't part of the zeitgeist. It was bad, absolutely terrible, and we knew it. We'd had Timothy McVeigh and the failed bombing of the Twin Towers, but we hadn't entered into the neo-McCarthyism that marked much of the early 2000s, where the mere whisper of the word could get you thrown off an airline or placed on a watch list. And there was a certain cachet, a mystique that some of the equipment and ideas surrounding terrorism carried in the imaginations of adolescent boys, which is probably why Rob Kinnan, like virtually every other guy I knew growing up, had copies of the Anarchist Cookbook and the Terrorist Handbook, saved up to a 3.5 floppy disk that he had stashed in his room. When he failed to get a gun, he built one. I'm a little wary to Google it, but if my memory serves me, the instructions for it were listed in one of those text files as the Homebrew Blast Cannon. Rob's blast cannon consisted of little more than a lead pipe capped at one end and filled with gunpowder and bits of metal. It did the trick, but it also launched burning gunpowder all over the interior of his car. Some of the people at the scene thought they had seen someone else in the car with Rob, a girl, and relayed this information to Officer McCullough, who was the first emergency responder to arrive. Officer McCullough hadn't seen anyone else in the car. All he saw was a burning car, a crowd of teenagers who all reported having heard an explosion, and the lead pipe that had rolled out of Rob's unconscious hand and onto the passenger side of the floor. Terrorism may not have been a big part of the zeitgeist at the time, but school shootings were. The Columbine massacre had happened only 6 months prior, and Officer McCullough was looking at a fairly typical teen loner, reports of an explosion, and what very well could have been an undetonated pipe bomb still in the burning car. He made a tough call. It may have cost Rob Kinnan his life, but then again, he might already have been dead. You have to ask yourself about what the officer did. Was it worth risking more lives to find out? So what do you think about that call?
I don't know. It's just 4 hours seems excessive.
4 hours is excessive, but if
He's
all that
obviously
they saw
dead.
was like the pipe weapon roll into the passenger seat, I mean, you could think that's a pipe bomb, right?
Oh, sure.
And also, if Columbine was 6 months ago, one of the things they did at Columbine was rig up explosives. They didn't go off, but
I mean,
that was like part of the police.
I think that's fair then. That's probably fair, just to make sure nobody gets fucking blown up trying to check out the car.
And if he shot himself in the head, even if it was with a makeshift gun, he's probably dead. Probably don't send another officer close to a car that's on fire and might have a pipe bomb in it, right?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah. I remember thinking that Officer McCullough, at that point only known to me as the cop who always gave kids a hard time for riding their bikes without a helmet, was a bastard. And maybe he was a bastard, but if he was, it wasn't because of this. He couldn't risk more lives. Besides, whether or not it was a suicide, if there had been a second person in the car, where the hell was she? Nobody who knew Robert Edward Kinnan at all, even people like me who barely knew him, believed for a second that he was out to kill a whole bunch of people. But there was something else that could have been going on. Rob had a crush on a girl that bordered on obsession. It had lasted years and only seemed to be getting worse. The girl in question, Alina, worked at the omitted location, and Rob would go out of his way to stand in her line or linger in the parking lot after hours, hoping to speak with her as she was heading home.
You drink all the coffee.
Everyone immediately wondered if the mystery girl in the fire had been Alina. Did he pull her into his car to once more profess his love for her and, unable to handle another rejection, take his own life before her eyes? Or, God forbid, try to take Alina with him? Alina's friends and coworkers shouted her name.
Alina! Alina, where are you?
When she didn't respond, they fanned out to look for her. It was the manager, Mrs. Jaffrey, who found her. Completely overwhelmed by Rob's suicide, Alina had retreated into one of the walk-in freezers. She was bawling her eyes out as Mrs. Jaffrey threw her coat over Alina's shoulders and led her to the manager's office.
Oh, it's not your fault.
The older woman whispered into Alina's ear, but it didn't do any good. No one else was unaccounted for, and no mystery woman was ever found. No second bomb ever exploded, and no accomplices ever turned up. I guess we all assumed that those eyewitnesses were mistaken, that the smoke and the flames had played a trick on their eyes. We were wrong. I just gotta say, the way this story gives us information, where it's like, well, this is a tragic case that happened here, but Rob had a crush on a girl. And then it like reads about the death, and it's like, we assumed that they were mistaken. We were wrong. Like those little end of paragraph, like, oh, what's this? What's this? It's such a fun, because every detail we're getting is interesting. And then at the end of that information, it gives us like a little clue to new information. It's just a very fun way to like give out a story like this. I like it.
Yeah, the story is setting itself up really well.
Fletch wasn't in school for the rest of that week, and I didn't see him around the neighborhood either. I hate to admit it, but it was sort of a relief. I had no idea what I was going to say to him. What do you really say to someone whose friend has just killed himself? In the weeks that followed, a new form of gossip slowly crept into the hallways of the school. Special counseling held in the cafeteria every morning before homeroom was supposed to be a safe space, where anyone could share their feelings without fear of judgment and be secure in the knowledge that it would go no further. So naturally, it was all anyone wanted to talk about. There's a strong backlash against the kids that the other students didn't feel deserved to be there. People who presented themselves as having been very close with Rob, but who in truth rarely spoke with him. Several of my close friends had been at Omitted that night. They had watched Rob burn, seen him die, and although they were deeply affected, they weren't even entirely comfortable being there amongst his handful of close friends and, of course, Alina. I felt terrible for Alina Amanev. Sitting there in the cafeteria, surrounded by Rob's grieving friends, listening to everyone tiptoe around blaming her. They never came out and said it, but they talk about how girls wouldn't give him the time of day, how someone had recently ripped out his heart.
Jesus.
And when the council... That's pretty rough.
That's brutal, man.
It's a weird place to be, because it's like, if someone dies, you know, the dead have settled their debts. You don't want to talk bad about them, right? And you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, just because someone's dead doesn't mean they were virtuous, right? So it's like...
Well, yeah. Well, that's just the thing, is that fucking teenagers are dumb, very dumb and cruel and surface level. So of course they're gonna like blame this. It's the easiest thing to leap to, you know. So they're just gonna torment Alina for no reason.
Yeah, because like you don't want to like blame him, right? But you want to blame something. So a bunch of them are like, oh well, girls, right? Am I right? Girls led to a problem, and it's like, it's kind of like an easy out because you're not thinking about the girl who is affected, who's still alive by what you're saying. Yeah, it's very human. It's very natural. And when the counselor spoke about how challenging it can be to cope with the insensitivity of other teens, many in the room cast sidelong glances in her direction, waiting for her reaction before adding in their own 2 cents. The year before Rob's death, Alina had suddenly found herself with a kind of unexpected popularity. She was born in Russia, but her parents had managed to immigrate to the United States when Alina was still an infant, which was during the tail end of the Cold War, so no easy feat. Kids used to tease her about her family being Soviet spies, but when she started to come into her own, the teasing turned to flirting. She never quite reached the ranks of our school's alpha females, but her je ne sais quoi was undeniable. Alina was pretty, sure, but not unattainably so. She was smart, but not so much so that it was intimidating. But by the way, have you ever been intimidated? Every story I read, I feel like that's like, oh, she's like too smart, or she's intimidatingly smart. Have you ever got that feeling from a woman?
No. Well, I just always assume I'm much more stupid than anybody that I meet, so I'm always just like, so if anything, when I'm like, you're smart, but I don't think it's ever me being like, you don't want to talk to a peon like me. I'm too stupid.
I've always heard that in stories. It's like, oh, she's so smart, it's intimidating. It's like, wouldn't you want that? Like, that'd be like, oh, what if like your partner? What if she like was magically super good at one thing? It's like, sure, why not? Like, why would that be a problem? If we're on the same side, wouldn't that be like an asset for me? Why is
What
that?
is it, jealousy? I'm guessing. Is this supposed to be jealousy type shit? Like if it's like if the man is not the breadwinner, does he feel inadequate as a man? Or something.
That might be what it is. That might be what, like same note of thing. I don't know. I hear that in every story, and it's never. I've never understood what it's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean intimidating? That's like, oh, she's too beautiful. I can't stand it. Like,
If a girl's
what?
too beautiful, I can see people being insecure about being like, I'm too ugly. She's gonna like fuck somebody else, or
Maybe that's
cheat
what
on
it
me or
is. You
whatever.
feel like you don't deserve someone who's too smart.
I think
'cause she's
that's.
so out of
I
your
think
league.
inevitably
That
that's
could
what
be
it
more
boils down
reasonable.
to. Yeah, insecurity for sure.
That's more reasonable, I think, yeah. She had fair skin and wild hair. Her eyes would sparkle whenever she said something clever, and she had this smirk that spread like a wave from left to right across her lips. Most alluring of all, Alina had this attitude, this way of carrying herself. It was like she was sure wherever she was the place to be. It was infectious. In short, Alina Aminev was exactly the kind of girl that an unpopular guy could fool himself into thinking he had a chance with. God knows I did when I found myself suddenly talking to her in late November of 1999. Alina had grown quieter in the weeks that followed Rob's death. Even as the rest of the school began to show signs of moving on, she continued to retreat. She quit her job and, though I don't quite remember when the season started and stopped, either quit or never signed up for cross country that year. She just sort of shut herself off from the world and everyone in it, which was why I was so surprised to see her at Drew DeLuca's birthday party. She looked nervous. She used to be her element, and no one at Drew's that night was inclined to blame her for Rob's death. This was not his circle of friends, this was hers. But whenever she approached someone or tried to join in on a conversation, she looked like a gazelle approaching a watering hole it wasn't sure was safe. And once she was in the conversation, she mainly shifted her weight from foot to foot or fidgeted with some part of her outfit, never really engaging anyone unless they addressed her directly. I was telling a friend of mine about a recent trip I had taken to Greenfield with Scary Carrie, the only one I could ever drag along on my ghost hunting trips, when I felt a gentle tug on the back of my shirt. I turned around half expecting to see DeLuca's kid sister, but it was Alina.
Can we talk? Oh, yeah, sure. Outside?
She looked over my shoulder at my friend before adding,
Alone?
Hunter, you right now, you're in this position. The Russian girl comes up to you. It's like, can we go alone?
Hell no. Hell no.
Why not?
Get away from me, commie freak. Was what I'd say.
Yeah, there we go. USA, USA. Then you
Exactly.
punch her really hard.
Yeah.
Just
All
kick
right,
her
get
out.
the hell out of here, hammer and sickle. I ain't trying to talk to you.
Alone? I thought you don't want everyone involved. It's kind of seems a little hypocritical if you ask me. You don't want the whole crew involved. Seems kind of selfish. If it had been spring, I would have been thrilled by the prospect of Alina Aminev pulling me out of a party to talk alone. But it wasn't spring. It was New Hampshire in late November. We stood on the back deck, our jackets pulled tightly around us, our breath hanging in the air, plain to see. She said she heard from Christy McDowell that I knew a lot about ghost stories. Christy was quite possibly my oldest friend in the world, and yes, it was true. I knew a lot about ghost stories. I was raised Catholic and blessed with kind, warm-hearted parents whom I was always eager to please. This meant that I took my Catholicism and my schoolwork very seriously, which eventually led to a struggle between my rational and spiritual beliefs that was only exacerbated by my growing awareness of the sexual abuse scandal and the church's subsequent cover-up. I'd hated losing my faith. I wanted desperately to believe as I had as a child. So when most teenagers had shut the book on ghost stories, relegating them to little more than childhood memories or an excuse to scare a girl you wanted to put your arm around, I doubled down. I thought if I could find something, some shred of evidence in support of the supernatural, that would keep the door to the spiritual world open for me, even if only for a time. Of course, I didn't share all of that with Alina. Instead, I tried to act casual bordering on slightly disinterested.
Yeah, well, kinda. Why?
Alina began fishing around inside her jacket.
You have to swear to me that you'll never tell anyone I showed you this.
I swore. Alina pulled her hand out from her coat. Her dainty fingers clutched an envelope like it was a particularly delicate piece of glass. She handed me Rob's suicide note. Opening the envelope and unfolding the pages felt like a profound invasion of privacy. But who could resist reading it when it was handed to you? What were Rob Kennan's last words to the girl he'd been obsessed with for years? The girl many of his peers believed was the reason he killed himself. 13 years had passed, leaving me with little more than an impression of what that note said, but even if I remembered it exactly, I think this would still be where I draw the line. What I will say is that it was very earnest. Rob had been depressed for a long time. He felt horrible about leaving his family and friends to deal with the aftermath of his suicide, but he also felt isolated in a very profound way, and more than anything, just wanted it to stop. I also don't mind sharing that he was very effusive in his praises for Alina, but I got the distinct impression he didn't know her as well as he thought. He wrote about her in these florid terms full of superlatives. Twice he said he didn't think he could live without her, but ultimately nothing he said was very specific. Everyone thinks the first love of their life is the most special, most attractive person in the world, and that no one could ever appreciate them as deeply as they do. I felt for him, I really did. But reading it, I didn't feel as though I'd gotten to know him any better. Not really. As I finished reading, I looked up and met Alina's gaze. She was looking at me expectantly, but I wasn't making the connection.
What does this have to do with ghost stories?
Alina pointed to the bottom of one of the paragraphs expounding on why Rob wanted to take his own life. It read,
And every hour, I see her face as she runs the endless race.
her face. I'd assumed he was talking about Alina and her years of running track and cross country, but if that was the case, why would he write her and not your in a letter that was to Alina? A shiver ran up my spine. It wasn't the cold. It was more like someone had walked over my grave.
The endless race. Yes.
For a split second, Alina was her former self again.
God, I was starting to think I'd imagined it. Tell me you remember where it's from.
I mumbled the line
And every hour, I see her face as she runs the endless race.
a couple of times under my breath. I knew that I had heard it before, but where? I was positive it was a ghost story, but I'd read literally hundreds, if not thousands of them. They had a tendency to bleed together.
No. Shit.
Lena banged her fist hard against the railing of the deck.
But it's a ghost story, right? Yeah, I know. I know it. I just can't.
I trailed off, racking my brain. Alina started drifting back towards Drew's house.
If you think of it, absolutely.
I cut her off. So much for slightly disinterested. As she reached the door, she turned and looked at me. She stared at me for a long time, longer than any pause in a conversation should be.
I think he mentioned it in the one he wrote to Nate Fletcher, too.
I stared back at Alina.
Fletcher's letter? Yeah. Did you find out?
That was the line I didn't think I could cross.
Yeah.
Interesting. End of part one.
End of part one. So we're getting into the meat of the story of basically Alina is assuming, or not assuming, I don't want to say that. Alina is saying that, is this a ghost story? Almost perpetuating the idea that was Rob afflicted by some kind of entity that was driving him crazy?
Well, that's what the question is, because everyone who saw Rob died said that they saw a woman in the car.
Exactly.
So I see her face running the endless race. That
Also,
must come from some ghost story.
I want to say that everyone that saw them also was like a teenager or young, because the officer said that he didn't see anything. So I'm wondering too, does that correlate
could
with...
just be kids.
Exactly.
Could just be kids.
Is it only kids can see him or something?
Yeah, maybe only kids can see him. That, or like the author also said that kids were the first to show up.
Yeah. That's true.
So maybe like there was a face there initially, then disappeared when the police got there.
Yeah, it just went away. True.
So it could be that, or it could just be that kids see him, because all the people who seem involved, at least so far in the story, with the ghost itself are the kids.
Yeah.
This is an interesting dynamic because Alina has a letter from him, a guy that clearly creeped her out. Was he literally took his own life over her, so way too like parasocially attached to her and stuff like that. But the mention of the girl in the car, and maybe her feeling like she maybe owes him something because the other kids have kind of like pointed a finger at her, even if wrongly, to say that she was involved somehow.
In some way, it seems like Alina
It's
was kind of
interesting.
friends with Rob too. In a way, like I don't think that she totally.
I think she was nice to him, but the
You think
idea
so?
of
Oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, because she was probably nice to him. That's why Rob felt like he had a chance. Especially because Rob is a social outcast. But it also says that Rob would come to her place of work constantly and just like try to profess his love for her and stuff like that. So that's gotta push the girl
desperation
back,
for sure.
right? Yeah, yeah. But she still feels kind of maybe this obligation to figure out what it was about, or a curiosity to figure out what it was about.
Right.
And also, I like that paragraph that was like, he said twice that he couldn't live without her, but he never said anything specific. That is very accurate, I think, to a lot of like high school
Young love,
obsessions
dude.
and stuff
Young
like
love.
that. Yeah. And that thing about like everyone thinks that they are never going to be able to get over their first love.
Very
it's
true.
also true because I especially with guys,
Oh.
you'll hear that joke a lot where girls will be like, well, yeah, I can't date a man because he's still over the girl he broke up. He's not over the girl he broke up with when he was 16, right? I think it's because a lot of guys like associate that period in their life being like young, dumb, and like in love with that person. So they think that they're never going to get over to that person when in reality, they're just not getting over like being a kid that's in love and doesn't know that they have the potential to not love
They're the
someone.
ones who got away. The great white buffalo.
Exactly.
Great white buffalo.
So it's I just like the wording on that. That felt very legitimate. I love a lot of the language in the story so far. I love the way information's doled out. This is great so
It's
far.
hot.
I'm very bought in.
It's hot.
It's hot. It's very hot. Very hot. All right. So now part 2. A few days after Rob's suicide, a handful of young reporters showed up at school trawling for quotes. Before the faculty could chase them out, they pushed hard for anyone to give support to the lone wolf school shooter angle. Rob's girlfriends flatly refused to speak to the reporters, but there's a certain element among young people who only want attention, and the same kids who showed up for the grief counseling, despite never having been particularly close to Rob, were the first in line to provide quotes. The next day, the local paper was filled with statements like,
No one really knew him, says student Melissa Burnett.
for Fletch, it was a slap in the face.
What? Because she didn't know him. Nobody could.
About a week or so after Rob died, Fletch resumed picking me up in the morning.
I don't count. Murph doesn't count. Fucking bullshit.
Listening to him rant about the story in the paper made me think that maybe I should have spoken to the reporters. I wouldn't have pretended to have had any special insight into Rob's mental state, but it might have been nice for his friends and family to have seen something simple and honest, something that didn't fit into the lone wolf narrative. Even if it was nothing more than saying,
He had friends. They're just not talking because they're grieving. You heartless parasite.
I wish I had done that, but I didn't. I also wish I could tell you that I was the one who wrote an op-ed the following week roasting the reporters for coming into a school and pushing students still reeling from the shock of losing a classmate and spouting a whole bunch of pop psych pseudo-scientific nonsense. But that wasn't me either. That was some senior I didn't know very well. I'd made a few tenuous attempts at getting Fletch to open up about Rob. The best I'd managed was to get him ranting about the kids in the grief counseling sessions that didn't belong. Talking about them got the normally placid Fletch so angry I thought he might have an aneurysm. After that, I quickly gave up. Once I resolved not to pry into Fletch's life, our morning ride settled into something almost comfortable. Our casual friendship was like a knee recovering from an injury. Fine so long as we didn't put any weight on it. And that was still the state of things the day we returned to school after Drew DeLuca's birthday. Today, tracking down the story that led me to the Spire would have been a piece of cake. For me, anyways. For you, I've changed too many details. I could have typed that little rhyming snippet of Rob's suicide note into Google and had my answer in seconds. But the internet wasn't as robust back then. Well, I'm pretty sure in 1999, I was still using Hotbot. Nonetheless, from the second I returned from Drew's until school started on Monday, I spent every waking minute scouring every haunted places book and paranormal website I could find, looking for the phrase,
Here's
In
your
every
reward.
hour, I see her face, and she runs the endless race.
or some variation. By the end of the weekend, half the contents of my bookshelf had been redistributed throughout the house, and I had skimmed countless GeoCities pages, scrolling past Dancing Ghost
Don't
GIF
just
after
stand
Dancing
there
Ghost
with
GIF until my
thumb
eyes
up your
bled.
ass.
Still had nothing to show for it. I knew I couldn't bring it up with
Let's
Fletch.
get one thing
Not directly,
straight.
at any
You're
rate.
not working with
Rob's
me.
death was still a
You're
raw
working
nerve,
for
so
me.
I went to the only person who knew even more about ghost stories than I did. Scary Carrie. Growing up in the woods of New Hampshire at the foot of the White Mountains wasn't all bad. My school had a hiking club that also taught us elementary wilderness survival skills. It was immensely popular, mainly because it culminated in a week-long hike, which meant you got to miss a week of school. As freshmen, my friends and I all signed up to go together that fall, but 2 weeks before the big event, I came down with a case of antibiotic-resistant strep throat that had to have my tonsils removed. Fun. Since the program was extremely popular, each student could only partake once. Even though I was allowed to make up my hike the following winter, it was still a bit of a letdown, since none of my friends could come with me. I was intensely jealous when my friends returned from the hike closer than ever with a slew of in-jokes and stories from their weeks in the woods. But by the time I left for my hike a few months later, things in my circle of friends had already returned to normal, and I was mainly just concerned about being stuck in the woods with random classmates I had little in common with. If you've never spent all day hiking with a large frame pack, you may not appreciate how grueling it can be. There's a high washout rate of kids who get sick or throw in the towel and have to be picked up and taken home. There's an even higher rate of kids who never shut up about how much their feet hurt. And by the time we stopped for lunch on the first day, any concerns I had of loneliness were replaced by my seething hatred for that group of kids. This is true. Anytime you ruck anywhere, there will be people complain. It's just fact of life.
God.
My legs, help. It's like, yes, that's the point. Your body's not used to an extra 60 pounds on its back. That's how it works. It doesn't know what's going on. Your legs are scared. Those of us capable of keeping our mouths shut, at least about our feet, quickly bonded. That's how I became friends with Scary Carrie Peterson, the last person on earth I'd ever imagined I'd become close to. Carrie was one of those unlucky people that seemed significantly designed to be picked on. She was nearly 6 feet tall, quite overweight, crap at school, poor by the standards of my admittedly affluent town, and cursed with the head size of a large pumpkin.
God damn, Carrie.
Just roasting this girl left and right. I'd had classes with Carrie on and off for the last 9 years, and before the hike, I doubt I'd spoken more than 2 words to her. Although, in fairness to me, in middle school, she had deepened her own isolation from most of the class by becoming intensely goth in the baby bat way of the late 90s teens. Okay. Hold on. She's a 6 foot tall goth girl.
Yeah.
Is that,
All right, hold on a second. She's the woman of my dreams.
Well, hold on a second. What's everyone being mean to Carrie about? Like, Scary Carrie, what? She's a little. What was overweight even mean in the 90s? What?
Nothing. Nothing. Means nothing.
There was a blonde girl on the hike. I think her name was Stephanie Foster, that 2 hours earlier I had found very cute, and despite her whining, I was still thinking I might like to get to know her better before she let this gem slip.
God, I just wanted to miss school. Why do we have to walk so much?
I rolled my eyes but didn't say anything. Carrie, however, could not let it slide.
What the hell did you think a hike was?
All right, don't do that to Carrie.
What the hell do you think what the hell do you think a hike was?
She's a 6 foot
If you
tall,
could-
overweight woman.
if-
What the hell do you think a hike was? Sweet cheeks.
No. See, now you're mocking me. Now you're mocking my people, my group. I need you.
What the hell
to
did you think a
teach it-
hike was?
That's closer. That's better. You're getting there. I need you to channel your best Margaret Qualley. I think that is.
Margaret Qualley.
mind.
She's a 6 foot tall, overweight goth girl in the 90s. She's not Margaret fucking Qualley, dude.
Overweight in the 90s means filled out. It means great. These
They
are
had
high school kids, so I should be
supersized
careful.
at McDonald's, dude. They were big old girls. All right.
It could be a big old girl. You're right. Fair enough. You know what?
What the hell did you think a hike was?
Armage Almanac 7.
Stephanie looked at her like Carrie was something she'd scraped off the bottom of her boots.
Nobody's talking to you.
And nobody wants to fucking listen to you.
I still denounce your voice for Carrie, but Carrie's special to me.
All right, that's fine, dude. Be stoked about it, man.
I couldn't help
Isaiah.
it.
Isaiah. Oh. She's looking down at you, kissing your forehead. You're my little sweet
okay.
pea.
That other than the voice you're doing, that sounds lovely. If I obviously I'm a married man and my wife is the 6 foot tall golf woman in my life, but in like high school me, 1,000,000%. Like yes. I don't know what you're making fun of. This sounds perfectly reasonable.
I'm giving her a voice.
Yes, but there's a tone. There is a tone of bitterness.
Dude, don't let your
to this voice you're
insecurity
giving.
get to me, man. All right.
My insecurity, definitely not yours. Assigning
Your
the voice of like a
insecurity
40-year-old
for one
trucker
like a big old
to
girl
carry.
that's a goth chick. Just fucking lay it out there, dude. That's all it has to be. Okay. Nobody wants to fucking listen to you.
I couldn't help it. I laughed. I still didn't think of Scary Carrie as a friend yet, but it was suddenly a lot harder not to like her. After lunch, our line of hikers silently and seemingly unconsciously rearranged our marching order, with the whiners taking up the rear and those of us who could keep our aches and pains to ourselves leading the pack. By dinner time, Stephanie and 3 other kids from her clique, perhaps unimpressed by the franks and beans we'd be having, decided to throw in the towel. It gets dark early in winter, dark and cold. On the fall hike, after dinner, my friends were able to wander around the campsite quite a bit, but for us, there was only one thing to do: stick close to the fire. And that's where Carrie and I really bonded. Someone half-jokingly asked if anyone knew any good ghost stories. There was the usual student reluctance to step up and put yourself out there to be judged, and our chaperones weren't terribly interested in anything but double-checking our work setting up the tents. But after a few false starts from the other kids, I decided to tell an old standby, the story of an old woman that lived in Maine who had been caught abducting pets and small children. It was said that she was a witch who ate the flesh of her victims and turned their bones into china.
Sick.
It's pretty cool. Also, did you ever, I think I've talked about me doing this before, but did you ever have those moments in like high school, middle school where you told stories by the fire, like at a sleepover or something?
No, not really.
Okay. I guess I'm cooler than you. The second I finished, Carrie started telling one of hers. We took turns telling stories the rest of the night and continued telling stories every night after dinner for the rest of the week. Between campsites, we walked next to each other, chatting about the kind of crap that seems important to teenagers and quizzing each other on local paranormal hotspots. Back at school, after the hike, maintaining my friendship with Carrie proved to be tricky. My friends never really understood the bond. They weren't mean to her, not exactly, but despite my efforts to bring her into the fold, I never embraced her. As for the few friends Carrie had, some couldn't mask their disdain for my taste in music and clothing, while others were the sort of kids that were desperate and clingy, 2 things I'd always found it hard to stomach. But Carrie was one of the only people I could talk to about losing my faith, and she was always game to get together and go on one of my very fruitless ghost hunts, so we stayed in regular contact. I'm telling you right now, you've got Carrie all wrong. In my mind, Carrie's beautiful to
She's
me.
a king.
Okay?
She's a king.
I don't like your word king. If you said queen, I'd be in agreement with you, but I feel like there is a respite to the way that you're using that word that I don't appreciate.
Okay.
The Monday after my conversation with Alina, I tracked down Scary Carrie in the cafeteria setting with a few other goth kids. We had talked a lot after Rob killed himself, in part because I knew that Carrie, from time to time, had suicidal thoughts of her own. May have been the height of stupidity, but until Rob Kinnan actually ended his own life, I never thought it could happen in my town. At least not to anyone I knew. After Rob had done it, though, I knew I couldn't let Carrie slip down the same path. For a while, I doubled my efforts to spend time with her. But after one particularly awkward night ghost hunting in Greenfield, well, we'd fallen back to the status quo.
Carrie, you mind if I steal you for a second?
I asked, pointing back out into the hallway behind me. As Carrie rose to leave, Kim Murray's leaned over to one of their other friends and said,
Aww.
like she'd just seen something cute. Carrie's face splotches of scarlet and shot Kim a look of pure hatred.
Forget it. Forget it. Come on.
See, you were about to do Carrie's voice.
No, that was my.
But then you realized you're doing.
My throat.
No. Then you realized you're doing this character. So you adopt a less masculine voice for the man. I know what you were doing. I know 100% what you were doing. No, you can't, because that was a strategic sore throat.
My throat's sore.
I think I'm disgusted by your characterization of Scary Carrie. I think that this is a beautiful relationship. I think he should embrace, because that meant that Carrie has mentioned to her friends that she likes our author. What is that? Are you doing the bear noise? Do not do the bear noise. No, there's no bear trap. What is your bear trap? You haven't laid out a trap for anything.
I was mooing. I was mooing like a cow.
Oh, now she's a cow. Okay. All right. So you took her from a trucker to a cow. You're moving backwards. All right. No, I don't need this. I don't need you. I don't need your interaction or your 2 cents regarding this.
Forget it. Come on.
I said. I didn't know what Carrie had told Kim about Greenfield, but sure didn't want to deal with it. Once we were in the hallway and out of anyone's earshot, I recounted the events of Drew DeLuca's party.
She let you read the note he left her?
We're going to fight, me and you. We're going to throw down. Even though just a month ago, we'd spent several hours being lectured by our guidance counselors about the differences between depression, true depression that was a psychological illness, and being sad, I think Carrie still had trouble believing anyone was more miserable than she was. Carrie stepped closer to me and dropped her voice to a whisper.
Why'd it do it? Was it her fault?
You're trying to ruin this for me, and I'm not going to let you. I'm just going to ignore you.
You're gonna have to just fucking realize that's gonna be Scary Carrie's voice, dude.
I'm gonna read this in my head. I'm reading it in a different voice.
How? What does she sound like in your head?
She looks like my beautiful wife. She looks like my gorgeous wife, whom I love deeply. That's what she looks like.
I did not put that in your head. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Shut up. I hate you. I trusted Carrie, but I was reluctant to share too much with her. I hate to admit it, but in spite of having counted Carrie amongst my friends for the past year, Alina's pretty face had flipped my loyalties completely to her in one conversation.
Good man.
I cut to the chase. Shut up.
Rob wrote something in Alina's note. I swear it's from a ghost story, but I can't remember which one. What'd it say? And every hour, I see her face as she runs the endless race.
Scary Carrie shivered.
Ooh, the widower's clock. Oh, I hate that one.
Listen up, jackass. Don't just stand there with your thumb up your ass. Get the job done.
Doesn't matter. While my story begins with Rob Kinnan killing himself, the story of the Spire in the Woods begins almost a century earlier in the former town of Enfield, Massachusetts, a few years before it was destroyed. In the late 1920s, an elderly clockmaker from Boston married a beautiful young woman, and the two of them settled in Enfield. He was a master craftsman, the finest in the world, able to create machines of such complexity and precision that he was often called the Da Vinci of clockworks. No small feat, considering Da Vinci himself had designed clockwork automatons. She was a great beauty, refined and cultivated. Before meeting the clockmaker, she had been celebrated by the Boston Brahmin for her wit and for throwing the very best dinner parties. The clockmaker had amassed a great fortune, but he, like all great artists, was unsatisfied by all of the products of his lifetime of labor. He wanted to build one more clock, a clock that would surpass even Munich's Rathaus Glockenspiel in its artistry and complexity. He completed his plans in the spring of 1931, and they were beautiful. His designs were classic yet modern, complex yet clean. Each hour, when the bells called out the time, the automatons would dance forth from their hidden chambers and symbolically reenact different battles of the Civil War, each day telling the story of how the North came to vanquish the South. Lowell and Boston both desperately wanted the clock tower, as did a few of the large manufacturing and shipping companies. But before construction could begin on any town hall, courthouse, or corporate headquarters, the Depression hit. All the suitors disappeared in short order, one after the other, leaving the clockmaker alone with his plans. Miserable and depressed, the clockmaker feared he would die before he'd ever have the chance to see his vision complete. He resolved that he wouldn't let that happen, and began spending his considerable fortune building the tower of his own, as an addition to his own house in Enfield. One day, the clock tower nearly complete, the clockmaker returned home from picking up a custom-made part. He arrived much earlier than anticipated to discover his wife in bed with another man, one of his laborers. The clockmaster burst into the room and screamed at his wife and her lover. He had never been so angry or humiliated in all his life, but he didn't yet know what humiliation was. Rather than beg his forgiveness or cower before him, or even flee the room in shame, the clockmaker's wife and her lover laughed at him. They told the clockmaker that he was an impotent old man, and they were unafraid of him.
Run along back to your little gears and springs. Maybe if you're nice and quiet, I'll still fix you your dinner tonight. Oh my God, dude, that is fucked.
Whoa.
What is
Oh,
it?
man.
There's a lot of cuckolding in this story, eh?
There is. This is our second instance.
I hope there's more.
I hope.
I like a nice cuckold horror story, dude. That's sick.
Do you? Is that a recurring thing that you're
and
interested in?
You know what's fucked up about that? It makes so much sense to me that vengeful spirits are cuckolds.
You know, I've never thought of it before, but you're actually right.
It's
if that
so
happened
true,
to me,
right?
I'd be mad enough to stick around.
Oh my
too.
God, I would,
Like,
I would burn the earth down forever.
I would not leave. I'd be like, I'm staying right here, and anyone who comes here, I'm gonna mess with. I'm gonna be upset. I'm gonna bother them. Are you sure that's not like? So my kind of woman is like, you know, tall, goth, whatever. Your kind of woman is any woman that's with another man.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Let the let the
yeah.
record show.
Let the record shut it down. Scary Carrie put it on the record. Scary Carrie also does WWE matches in her backyard. Do you smell
She's
what the Scary Carrie's cooking?
She's just Triple H. Like,
Well, she's just about as fucking big as him. Goddamn. She's like, I'm 14. Or this is way before too. She's like, I'm 12.
no, she's six. No, she's 16. I think.
Here? I thought this was years ago.
Okay, this story being told is now in high school when they're both
Oh, okay.
16,
Sorry,
17.
I thought
but
that-
he said a couple years earlier they went on a hike together. I imagine that was like
and that was the
freshmen.
different. Okay, yeah, my bad.
Yeah, where they became friends was years prior, but this is now caught back up to 1999.
Yeah, now she's like 7 foot something.
Yeah. Kayla, my wife, she was 6 foot in the 6th grade, I think, 7th grade. She like immediately shot up. She was like 6 foot when she was that old, so yeah,
Cool.
possible. You're such a jerk. You're so whatever. The clockmaker, in a state of shock, slunk back to his gears and springs, but rather than going to work on the clock, he went to work on a plan. He removed the automatons from their post and set all of his meager strength to coiling the huge spring that ran beneath their tracks. He laid out his tools so they would be near at hand, and then he waited, listening to the rhythms of his marriage bed slamming again and again against the wall.
Brutal.
Oh my gosh. Eventually, the rhythmic thuds reached their crescendo, then fell quiet. Soon after, he heard his wife call out to him, but he said nothing. Her calls grew in urgency and repentance crept into her voice. Could she really be concerned for him? After what she did, after what she said, still, the clockmaker stayed silent. When the laborer entered the room, which was little more than a giant gearbox, the clockmaker stared at him, but did not move. The laborer leaned back out of the room and called to his lover.
He's in here! Hasn't done anything stupid, has he? No, he's fine.
The clockmaker was not fine. The laborer approached the clockmaker as cautiously as a man approaches an unfamiliar dog.
It's your fault, you know.
The clockmaker, his watery eyes unblinking, only responded by staring as the younger man approached him.
Fine lady like that. Fancy. You can't keep her in a cage, especially around here in these dreadful place, and expect she won't get bored.
It was at that exact moment that the laborer stepped across the path of the automaton's tracks and the clockmaker yanked out the pin holding the spring coiled. The post, unburdened of a man-sized figure brimming with heavy metal gears, raced along the track and collided with the soft flesh of the laborer's leg. The crack of the bone splintering was even louder than the man's screams. Clockmaker's wife called out at the sound of her lover's cries.
I'm coming! I'm coming!
The clockmaker picked up a large wrench and moved beside the door. As his wife rushed in, her eyes searching for her lover, the clockmaker crept up behind her and brought the wrench down on her skull. She awoke hours later with shooting pains running through her legs. She tried to look down, but her head was agony to move. The clockworker stood over her, his mallet hammering the metal support rods into her thighs. Her lover was already mounted to the post, ready to fill in for the automaton and dance when the hour struck. Just as with the Rathaus Glockenspiel in Munich, the clockmaker's creation was hailed as a great artistic achievement. Crowds gathered on the formerly quiet street to watch the myriad Union and Rebel automatons zip along their tracks, round and round in an endless race. It was weeks before anyone noticed something wrong with two of the automatons. Their lacquered veneer bulged in weird places and looked slick, as if it were wet. Then, one day, the finish gave way, and the crowd, which was mostly children at this point, watched in horror as two corpses zipped about the track, chasing and stabbing each other with their bayonets.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. That's so cool. He hooked them up to be the giant automatic, soldiers. They say even after the clock was stopped and the lovers were laid to rest, all those who saw the wife's face were haunted by visions of her endlessly running along her track. That's cool. What a cool ghost story. That's great. I love that. I didn't have to ask why Scary Carrie hated the story of the widower's clock. She was the one who pointed out to me how ghost stories were frequently used as a form of social control. Here was another story where an unfaithful woman was put to death by an angry husband, and crueler still, children were also punished. Children whose only crime was having seen the corpse of the unfaithful woman, a corpse that the enraged husband put on display. I couldn't wait to tell Alina. I didn't have any classes with her, but we had lunch the same period. Alina was sitting at a table with her friends. Ordinarily, it would have been intimidating to walk up to a table of girls, most of whom were pretty and toned from years of soccer, field hockey, and track, but I could tell by the way Alina was sitting with her tray in her lap, her chair pushed back from the table, that she would like nothing more than an excuse to leave. We were allowed to eat our lunches outside, but no one ever did during the winter. We got some funny looks pushing open the doors and slipping out onto the yellowing grass. I've been looking forward to telling Alina the story of the widower's clock for hours, but now that I was alone with her, I hesitated to jump straight into it.
Are you okay?
Alina shifted uncomfortably.
Yeah, but I haven't done so great with crowds lately, especially when I'm eating.
We were huddled in the corner of the doorway, trying to use the building to block the wind. I was nervous as I reached out to rub her arm that I hoped was an understanding and reassuring gesture. She didn't flinch or pull away. She just stared at my hand for a long second before she whispered,
Thanks.
I started telling her the story exactly as Carrie told it to me, but it barely begun when the switch flipped in Alina's head and she remembered where she heard it before. East Boston camps. Pretty much everyone in our town went to summer camp there when we were kids because it was only 15 minutes outside of Nashaw. One of the counselors there had been like Carrie and me, and he used to delight in telling ghost stories to the younger campers. He loved it when the kids were too scared to sleep and kept their cabin chaperones up all night. For a second, I forgot why we were trying to track down the story and got lost in old memories of camp, but Alina didn't.
Do you think it has anything to do with why he killed himself?
Her voice was steady, but she fixed me with her eyes, and I could see how desperate she was for me to say yes. Desperate to believe that it wasn't her fault.
I think he suffered from depression.
Alina's lip quivered, and her eyes filled with tears. I hugged her.
Hey, listen to me. You didn't kill him.
Alina gripped the collar of my flannel shirt and buried her head against my chest. I stood there, holding her, as she cried. The two of us were late to fifth period. At the end of the day, Fletch was waiting for me in the parking lot. He'd already turned his car on and cranked the heater up to full blast. Even still, we were halfway home before it was warm enough for me to open up my jacket. He stared out the window.
Dude, what's going on with you and Alina?
I turned to look at him. His jaw was set, and for the first time in our lives, Fletch reminded me of his hard-ass father. I really didn't want to answer him.
She asked me about a ghost story.
Fletch's only answer was to let his eyes drift from the road. He studied my face for a long moment before he finally said,
Which one? The widower's clock? It's the one where I know the one. Are you in a hurry to get home? No? Good.
Fletch pulled over to the side of the road, took a shuddering breath, punched the steering wheel twice, and started bawling.
It's kind of
It's funny. That's actually what happens every time I go anywhere with you.
Well, luckily it's not too often, so your fist and your lips quivering. You'd be all right.
I'm at you. You do that every time we go anywhere.
That's true. That's actually very true. That's me outside the French Quarters in New Orleans. Not again! That's what I say as I get dragged in. My nails peeling off, digging into the cement.
Every time I'm in the corner now, I think about you looking at me going, get me out of here. Oh, you remember that the day that you weren't hanging out with me, how you said you went to like a little bar area called the Dungeon?
Yeah.
Okay, and you said you enjoyed it there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was walking through the city like a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to a guy who was a tour guide, and he mentions the Dungeon. I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard that place is cool. And he's like, yeah, it's a BDSM club. They tie people up upstairs and they have these whipping parties.
Listen, dude.
So
I said
so
I
just wanted
enjoyed
to
it,
ask.
all right? We don't have to pick and prod at why
I just
enjoy
think
it.
it's interesting how you tell me there's like this place you found that was really cool, and then I later
Dude,
come
it's
to find
sick.
out
You have
that
to
it's
go in there.
It's a leather. No, absolutely not.
Okay, first off, when I went there was no BDSM stuff. It was just
Sure,
metal music.
sure.
And then it had a bar downstairs. It's all like really, really cool. Like set dress and stuff, like to look like an actual like dungeon. And then upstairs it has like kind of a chapel looking thing. It was cool. It was cool.
And there
I'll
wasn't
tell you this,
a single
And I tell you this,
someone
if there
tied
was
up,
people getting
someone
whipped,
wearing a fucking mask.
if there was people getting whipped in there, I would have liked it even more. I would have loved it even more.
There you are.
All right.
Animal. Monster.
If I was sitting there and I could have a fucking Jack and Coke while a guy next to me is just like, damn, dude, getting in there harder, getting whipped in the back. If old Scary Carrie was sitting next to me getting whipped in the back, come on, lay your shoulder into it. Then I would have loved it even more. I'd be like, hey, give me a Dirty Shirley. I'm like, you want one, Scary Carrie? Nah, I'm on a diet. I'm trying to watch my figure. Get me a Sprite Zero. I'm like, there's no way to have that here.
There is no. I'm not like Scary Carrie. If I had to say anything, I guarantee you they do not have Sprite Zero here.
Yeah, that's exactly what's. There's
Impossible.
no way. I'm like, I can get you a Dr. Pepper.
Maybe a Diet Coke.
Sugar. I'm like, sure.
Maybe a Diet
now we're
Coke,
watching
but
it.
I think that's all you can have. Now we're watching it.
Yeah, now we're watching it. She's like, give me a
Now's
gin
the
and
time.
tonic. I'm like, goddamn, give her a Modelo. For the love of God, give her a goddamn Modelo. Now scratch that, Pete. Give me a gin and tonic. Doesn't touch it the rest of the night. I'm like, oh yeah. I didn't know we're at in the story. The dungeon talk really got me.
It took you over. He let it out. Everything that he'd been holding in school, everything that he'd been holding in around his dad, everything. Elena had been sad. Fletch was purging. During the days following Rob's suicide, seeing people break down like this was common, and it continued on longer in the morning counseling sessions. But at some point, people put their guard back up. What had been appropriate emotions one day was suddenly back to being taboo the next. For people like Fletch, they weren't ready to be in that emotional space again. Once he got most of it out, we started talking. Really talking.
I know it's unfair. I know it's not. I mean, she always tried to be nice, but I'm sorry, I just fucking hate her.
I didn't exactly blame Fletch for how he felt. He was a good guy. He knew that Elena wasn't obligated to reciprocate Rob's feelings simply because he was nice to her. But he watched his friend, dead or alive, burn for 4 hours, and a part of him wondered if it would have still happened if only Elena had given, because he was nice to her. But he watched his friend, dead or alive, burn for 4 hours, and a part of him wondered if it would have still happened if only Elena had given Rob a chance.
That's too much pressure to put on somebody. I know.
I reminded Fletch of everything that the counselors had told us. That feeling sad when you've been rejected is natural, normal behavior, healthy behavior. You should feel sad whenever someone doesn't reciprocate your feelings. It is sad. But while there's always something that makes a person decide they want to kill themselves now and not tomorrow or last week, it's not the final straw that breaks their back. It's all the weight that came before it. The underlying mental illness. Fletch looked down at his hands.
Yeah.
There was no conviction in his voice. Fletch pulled his t-shirt up to his face and wiped the last of his tears away. He then started the car. We were moving, riding in silence. After a few minutes, Fletch spoke again.
He thought he found it.
What?
The widower's clock.
It was my turn to stare at Nate.
That's impossible. Do you want to read it? The note he left me?
In the period of time between the end of the Civil War and the start of the 1920s, the population of Boston, Massachusetts more than tripled. In fact, there were more people living in Boston in the 20s than there are today. This put an amazing strain on the city's resources, particularly on their drinking water. To solve their water problem, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts undertook a number of public work projects redirecting rivers and creating reservoirs, the largest of which is the Quabbin Reservoir in the Swift River Valley of western Massachusetts. The Quabbin covers nearly 40 square miles and sports an impressive 180 miles of shoreline. Creating the Quabbin meant flooding much of the Swift River Valley, and the Swift River Valley was home to 4 towns: Dana in the northeast and Prescott in the northwest, with Greenwich wedged between them, and Enfield in the southwest. Enfield, where the widower's clock was supposedly built, now sits mostly submerged by 412 billion gallons of water. How in the hell would Robert Kinnan found anything there at all? What would there even be to find? 60-something odd years in a flood after the fact. And it's not as though the Swift River Valley was flooded overnight. The people had had years to move their homes and relocate out of the flood zone. Why would they leave behind a whole building? And if it was there, wouldn't a clock tower peeking up from the water tend to draw the eye? I never felt comfortable in Fletch's house. The first floor felt like a museum. Mr. Fletcher was strict, but it was Mrs. Fletcher who wanted her house to always resemble the cover of an interior decorating magazine. Call me crazy, but what's the point of having a house you're afraid to live in? Fletch's room, on the other hand, had the opposite problem. The first time I came over, at Mrs. Fletcher's insistence, I had to take my shoes off to go upstairs and then put them back on in Nate's room because while he was sure there was broken glass somewhere, Fletch wasn't quite sure where. As you can imagine, Nathan Fletcher and his mother fought quite a bit. Fletch gestured to his bed, and I parked myself on the corner of it with the fewest dirty clothes. What few prized possessions he owned, Fletch kept in the bottom right-hand drawer of his desk, but that's not where he pulled Rob's letter out from. No, the letter he kept tucked in the book on top of his nightstand. It occurred to me that he must have been reading it often. The invasion of privacy I felt when I read Alina's letter was nothing compared to reading Fletch's as he sat next to me. The letter was exponentially more personal. Rob was exposed on the page. Reading it made me feel like I had walked in on him naked. Whereas the letter Rob gave to Alina revealed a little about himself and next to nothing about her, this letter revealed a great deal about Rob as well as Fletch. Fletch and Rob had bonded when Rob was new and Fletch was going through his awkward phase. Apparently, I had been wrong about Fletch not getting down whenever he said the wrong thing. Warm and funny and confident around his friends, Fletch had spent most of his early teens afraid to speak in public. Maybe I hadn't noticed because he was older and I sort of looked up to him. Or maybe I was just too absorbed in my own insecurities to see that anyone else had their own. Either way, it was news to me. Rob's note to Alina had expressed a measure of guilt for leaving everyone behind to deal with the aftermath of his death, but in the letter he gave to Fletch, the guilt he articulated feeling was for having lived. He apologized profusely for having been a burden.
I'm gonna take a bathroom
He described
break. I'll be
himself
back.
alternatively as a baby and a leech, a drain on anyone fully foolish enough to move too close on him. And though he knew no one would see it like he did, Rob viewed his suicide as a charitable act. He was ridding his friends and his family of himself. Despite my discomfort reading such a personal letter, I devoured every word. I consumed the letter, hoping after each line that the next would finally illuminate for me what Rob Kinnan had to do with the widower's clock. Finally, tucked amidst a list of his reasons why he was going to go through with it, was what I've been looking for.
I will soon join them, staring at her face as she runs the endless race.
I looked up, disappointed and annoyed with how little Rob had written about the widower's clock, to find Fletch rocking back and forth in his chair. It made me feel like a piece of shit.
You said he thought he found it? Yeah. How?
Nathan Fletcher looked up at me with watery eyes, and told me everything. Whew. Man, I can't remember the last time I've been so, like, hanging on every word of a story, you know? Like, what's next, yeah. Rob's medication had his depression mostly under control over the last 3 years. He still had bouts, but they were less frequent and less severe than they had been before. Along with his much improved disposition, Rob had also been sleeping better, eating more, and his energy was way up. But he was never exactly happy. See, that's something most people don't understand about depression. It's not a mood, it's a disorder. Having the symptoms of his disorder in check didn't make Rob happy, it made him not depressed. Rob still struggled to fit in and enjoy life. He was still unpopular, he was still misunderstood. One of the few things that Robert Kinnan really enjoyed was running. He especially enjoyed cross country. If I had to guess what appeal long-distance running held for Rob, I'd say that for someone who always felt their loneliness in a crowd, it must have been a relief to actually be alone. Just him, the woods, and the next mile. And the Quabbin Reservoir offered a lot of next miles. Rob had been exploring its trails since he was a child. When they lived in Amherst, his family used to visit the Quabbin on the weekends. They'd hike or picnic. Occasionally, Mr. Kinnan would take his 2 sons fishing. As a teenager, Rob looked for any excuse he could find to get down there and just go, one foot in front of the other, until sundown when visitors had to leave. That summer, the summer of '99, Rob made a lot of excuses to visit the Quabbin. He had, for the 3rd time, mustered up the courage to tell Alina Amanev how he felt about her. And for the 3rd time, he had been rebuked. This time a little less gently than before. It left Rob with a growing impression that the love of his life found him creepy. Running was the only thing to get his mind off of it. The Fletchers had 3 boys. The oldest, Samuel, had gone to UMass and, after graduation, found work in the university's IT department. Fletch visited his brother often, and whenever he did, Rob would hitch a ride down to the Quabbin. Usually, Fletch would drop him off in the morning, and Rob would either get picked up by family he still had in Amherst, or he'd call Fletch's brother from the visitor center at the south end of the Windsor Dam, and Fletch would come get him. Once, Rob had lost track of time and found himself, after sundown, miles from the visitor center. That's when he heard them for the first time. Bells tolling the hour. They were scarcely detectable, as if they traveled a great distance, and they had an odd, muffled quality that made them sound soft and deep. Rob stopped running and listened. He forgot all about Alina, forgot about contacting Fletch, forgot that he was an hour's drive away from the nearest person he knew. He stood in the woods, turned into the wind to listen to this beautiful sound. If he was anything like me when I first heard them, he was overcome by a physical sensation, a feeling like slipping under a warm blanket on a cold night, and then they were gone. Rob found himself once more in the dark woods with no idea how he'd get home. There's a trailer park, somewhat unusual in Massachusetts, a couple of miles southeast of the visitor center. Rob was lucky enough to get picked up on the road by one of its residents. She was probably barely 40, but looked like she was pushing 60, smoked continuously, and was the one who told Rob about what she called the spire in the woods. To her, man, I got chills, To her, the spire in the woods wasn't a ghost story. It was simply a fact of life. And like blind curves and sinkholes, one that was best to be avoided. She didn't have a first-hand account of her own, but she'd heard plenty of stories. She knew that some of the boys from her trailer park enjoyed getting drunk, getting stoned, and pissing in the reservoir late at night. They got a little thrill out of the idea that somewhere in Boston, some Harvard grad was drinking their urine. Occasionally, one of these boys would come back to his trailer unsettled at having heard the eerie beauty of the bells. The Quabbin Reservoir is peppered with islands. The woman said that the source of the bells was one of them, an island just to the north of where the old Ware Infill Road turns into Quabbin Hill. Somewhere, hidden in the island's wild-grown trees, the peak of an old spire, the sort you might see on top of a church, juts up out of the ground. Now and again, someone went looking for it and never came back. Rumor around the trailer park was that, back in 1996, John Wilkins and his cousin Anna found it, but only John came back. He killed himself about a month later. Since then, the park mothers have kept an extra close watch on their boys. Hold on. Wilkins is the last name of the woman who died in the school, right?
I thought so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Rob didn't really believe in any of it. He wasn't like me. Spire in the Woods wasn't a spiritual quest. He wasn't trying to cling to the last lingering shreds of his faith. He just wanted to hear that sound again. Hear the bells as they chimed the hour. Have that feeling of warmth and security wash over him. In the weeks that followed, Rob thought of nothing except the sound of the bells. Fletch thought that Rob was embellishing the incident, letting his memory get the best of him. But Rob was adamant that they were the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. He insisted that something in the aging bells, or the wind as it carried the tolling through the woods, or the acoustics of the rock and dirt surrounding the spire, lent to them an ethereal quality. He was determined to find the spire. Rob began researching the Quabbin, and it wasn't long before he realized the connection between the spire and the widower's clock. He dismissed the ghost story, but he was thrilled that a master artisan had lived in Enfield and sunk his fortune into constructing a clock tower complete with bells and chimes. Fletch was skeptical. If Rob had heard anything at all, it must have come from somewhere else. A neighboring town, a proper church. Tower bells weigh hundreds, if not thousands of pounds. What would be ringing them? The wind? It'd take a hurricane. But Rob was unfazed. He was going to find the spire in the woods. He was going to hear the bells again. Fletch didn't see the harm in letting him try. A week before school started, Fletch set off for Amherst with Rob in tow. The pair of them spent the evening with Sam and his friends before cutting out around 9:45 and heading down Route 9 until they reached Old Ware Infield Road. They parked the car near the trailer park and hoofed it the 2 miles or so up Old Ware to the shore of the reservoir near the islands, one of which, Rob was positive, housed the spire in the woods. Each having worn swimsuits under their clothes, they simply stripped down, stashed their things, and slipped into the water. The nearest island lay about 200 yards from the shore, and Fletch, never a strong swimmer, quickly realized he didn't have it in him to make it there. After a brief argument while treading water, Fletch turned back and Rob went on alone. They agreed Fletch would meet Rob back by Route 9 at 4 a.m. Fletch sat on the trunk of his car for hours, swatting mosquitoes and listening to the frogs and crickets. At first he was worried about Rob, then he was pissed that Rob had gone on by himself, then he was worried again. Fletch set the alarm on his watch around 1:30 or so, laid out on his back seat, and drifted off to sleep, wishing he was drinking at his brother's. Fletch awoke to the passenger side door being thrown open. Rob jumped in and slammed the door closed.
Drive! Drive!
Fletch scrambled into the front seat, assuming park officials or the police were in hot pursuit. He gunned the engine and pulled out of the trailer park. Fletch was already back on Route 9 before he hazarded a glance at his friend. Rob was panicked.
What happened?
Rob said nothing. He just labored to catch his breath as he looked back towards the reservoir. Rob's adrenaline slipped away as Fletch drove. By the time they reached Sam's apartment, Rob was practically catatonic.
It took me weeks to pry it out of him. But he saw something down there. He found the spire?
Fletch nodded.
Did he go in? End of part 2.
Brother, I tell you what. sometimes you feel good.
Well, you know what I like about this so far too is the immense buildup. Like I just feel like the buildup is really being earned out of like we're squeezing every bit of juice out of this. You know what I mean? Do you feel that at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the story is in a spot where it's like we're gonna get our worth out of this concept, right?
Yeah, no shit.
Like
It does feel like that.
Well. Yeah. I'm all over this right now. This is banging.
One thing before we get into part 3, notes or thoughts that I have are just like the use of cuckolding in the story is brought up a lot. That I'm still wondering exactly where is that going to tie in, because it feels like it's brought up so much that it's got to come up again. Right? I mean, I just
here's my prediction, right? And I think it was confirmed by the name Wilkins getting brought up, because that is the name of the girl that died.
Right.
The teacher that died. I think it's saying that a lot of the ghost stories that have been happening around this town are just side effects of stuff that really happened, right? Like the story gets passed around, it changes hands, and the details change. Like, I don't think there ever was a blood cemetery. I think what happened is people knew the story of the widower's clock, and the details got changed so much that it became the story of the blood cemetery. So I think there was one cuckold story, which the important thing there is not the cucking, but instead the fact that a man found another man sleeping with his wife, and he killed both of them and hooked them up to his like clockwork machine. Right. And then that story became so well known that it eventually became other stories like the blood cemetery. I think that's where it's going, that all of these urban legends came off the true story of the widower's clock.
I see. Yeah.
That's my prediction, at least. I don't know if that's true or not, but.
Well, I think that, I'm curious too. So do you think that, have they confirmed that the tower in the wood, is that actually a thing? Or is it just people are like, oh, it's interesting that someone put a clock tower in the woods? We haven't seen that though, have we?
We haven't seen it, but it sounds like it's pretty well confirmed, because it says that Rob threw out the ghost story part and was just fascinated that someone built a clock tower in Enfield.
Right.
So the clock tower's got to be real. The details about his wife cheating on him and the ghost story and all that stuff may not be, or the dead bodies hooked up to the mechanism may not be. Considering this is a horror story, I'm gonna hazard a guess and say that they are real, or something similar happened. But it seems that him being a clockmaker that built a clock is definitely real.
Okay.
I think, at least.
We're in thick here, but also there's still, it's taking its time. It's building itself out to be, I don't know, something. I think we're getting ready to get into it, because usually when we read a lot of creepypastas too, this is the big difference, is that usually there's like a little hook or a little something that kind of gets you going. Not to say that the ghost story angle hasn't been there yet, but I do think that, like, in other stories we've read, where it be Left, Right Game, Baraska, usually they do something to kind of show their hand to kind of entice you to be like, oh, this is, we're leading somewhere here, right? This story is like really building itself into that folk, like the folk tale angle is really building itself up to where I think we're gonna fucking hit the gas very soon. Is what I would assume.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm fully bought in right now. All right, so with that, we are now into part 3.
Part 3.
Rob had reached the first island. He had been searching fruitlessly for nearly 40 minutes when he heard them. The bells. Being so much closer now, they were even clearer. He fell to his knees, letting their sensation, their warmth, wash over him. For a moment, he knew bliss. The bells rolled back like the ocean at low tide. Rob found himself shivering on the ground. He could hear nothing but frogs and crickets. He rose on unsteady legs, sure of only one thing. In an hour, he'd be there. He'd be standing before the spire. He'd hear the bells, feel them up close. He ran to the shore and dove into the waters. Something else I want to mention is we get hints, because our author has established that he's writing all of this in the future. Like early on when he was like, if we were doing this nowadays, it'd be easy because of the internet. But in 1999, I didn't have that. And there was that brief mention right before part 2 ended where he said, if it was anything like my first time, then Rob probably felt the euphoria of it. So that means eventually our author finds the bells and hears them. So that's a thing to note.
Yes.
Rob emerged from the reservoir onto the rocky bank of the second and far larger island. He stumbled barefoot through the woods, increasingly aware of how dark it was beneath the trees. As the bell's siren's call faded in his mind, he began to doubt himself. The island was nearly 2 miles long and half a mile across. He could search it all night and never find a damn thing. The bells chimed once more. He turned to face them. There it was. In the center of a grove of dead trees, the spire jutted out of the ground like a pike set to receive a charge. Its white paint was oddly untouched by age.
Congratulations.
Small windows
Here's your
adorned each of
reward.
its sides,
Hunter,
framed by
Hunter,
the dead
what?
trees and bathed in moonlight. Called. Unable to resist their song, yet too overwhelmed by their warmth to walk, Rob crawled to the spire like an infant to its mother.
That's clear. Those are harder.
Pushed
than-
against the slats of the window. They gave way and he
clear
squirmed
area.
his way inside. Rob landed on top of a staircase. As the bells
Look,
continued to
Buckhead,
chime,
I'd say
he
it's
pulled
been
his
an
shuddering
honor.
body down the stairs,
But it
deeper,
would be a lie.
deeper, to the enveloping darkness within, until he lost himself once more in the ethereal sounds and their radiating warmth. Once the silence returned, Rob strained in vain to see. The air was humid and
I'm
black as
actually
ink.
gonna go.
He could feel wood,
Find Trader
dank,
Joe's.
and rotting,
Trader Joe's.
pressed against his bare calves. It gave him the impression he was sitting Indian style inside of a living thing, like Jonah in the whale. Gosh, this story's so good.
I know, right? So crazy.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, the unfathomable creature of a bell in the woods that calls to you. Oh, it's so good. Okay. Once the silence returned, Rob strained in vain to see. I already read that. Slowly, Rob rose to his feet. He held his hands out in front of him and groped blindly. He hoped he'd find a wall or a banister to the stairs, anything that would give him a clue about his surroundings. Instead, he found nothing, forcing him to shuffle deeper into the impermeable darkness. His outstretched fingers recoiled from the soft surface they encountered. What was it? He shook as he reached out, letting his hands land once more on the chest-high object in front of him. It was wrapped in cloth. It only extended out to about the width of his shoulders. The cloth hung loose over something hard that his hands couldn't identify. Rods? Dowels? His probing fingers traced up the object's outer edge until he felt something he could identify. He froze. His fingers were in the eye socket of a skull.
Oh,
His thumb
sick.
rested on its teeth. The bells rang again, if only inside Rob, as his mind's eye showed him the endless dance. Sat there in the dark, his unseeing eyes transfixed by the clockmaker's wife as she was dragged on her post through the twirling gauntlet of Union automatons. He saw her, alive and dead, the blush of youth, the maggots of decay, twitch and scream and moan as her body was pierced by countless bayonets. He saw her face as she ran the endless race. Oh my God.
Good God.
Oh, it's so cool. Oh, it's so
Like poetry. It's like fucking poetry. Is it not? Does that not just read as
it's
poetry?
So cool. Oh, it's so good. Oh man, he saw her alive and dead, the blush of youth, the maggots of decay. It's great. And it's all, he's in the basement of this spire in the woods, and like this, it's almost like the clockmaker when he built this clock and he attached these bodies to it. He invited some inhuman presence to dwell there. It's like he made an altar for some dark entity to take part in and to like make this its vessel. Oh, it's so good. And it's still running beneath the earth on this island out in a flooded town. Oh gosh. Rob shrank and shriveled, collapsed into the floor. Like a wounded animal, he crawled and clawed his way back, until he hit the wall. And even then, he didn't stop, but pushed against it with all his strength, hoping to retreat further. His flailing limbs struck a step, the first of many. With what little control he had over his frenzied mind, bolted for the surface, and an escape from the moist pit. The clockmaker's wife. Rob scrambled up the twisting stairs on all fours like a dog. He tore his way through the window and collapsed on the ground. The fresh air felt alien in his lungs as if it were his first breath. He took two more as he lay there on the ground before realizing that although he hadn't a clue what time it was, he couldn't be there when the bells chimed.
He ran and swam and didn't look back again until he was in his car.
Fletch put his face in his hands.
I shouldn't have let him go alone. So you believe him?
I tried to say it in as comforting a tone as I could, but I think it came out a little accusatory. Fletch hesitated.
Yeah.
See what it's all about.
Yeah, I do.
I had so many more questions I wanted to ask, but I didn't think Fletch could take it.
Forgot about that.
Choked up several times while relaying Rob's story, and the way his shoulders were slumped reminded me of the way Rob's parents had looked at their son's funeral.
I should have gone with him.
He said without looking up at me. I let it lie. As I left Fletch's house, every hair on my body was standing on end.
You know, I
But at that
low-key
point,
don't wanna
As much as I wanted to, I still wasn't ready to accept the story of the spire in the woods. Not at face value. When we'd studied the fall of the House of Usher in English earlier that year, now we're talking about Poe. The story. Oh, double platinum. We gotta hang up its jersey. It's doing too
Gotta
good.
hang up its jersey.
When we studied the fall of the House of Usher in English earlier that year, Mrs. Thorne had made it a point to draw our attention to two of Poe's opium references and to how Roderick Usher displayed symptoms of withdrawal. She explained that Poe's stories frequently incorporated both blatant and subtle references to intoxicants and hallucinogens in order to enhance the sense of phantasmagoria and help more skeptical readers suspend their disbelief. We've got analysis of Poe and drugs. We've got the word phantasmagoria, bro, in the rafters. We gotta get this guy up there.
On the screen, they have the little,
Drop his banner to be shown in the gymnasium for the rest of time, dude.
Yes. To be honest, at this point, I know this video is going to get taken down.
I know, it's so sad. Isn't it? I was thinking about it too. I was like, oh, God.
What if we find a way? There has to be some way to get this out there. Even just the story. The story's too good.
I mean, I know. It's fucking poetry, man. Well, also just the what is it? The fucking the description of even just like the tower itself, or just like it's so beautiful. Like, I mean, just the way that it all presents itself is just all, even the way too, like squirming in there, crawling through, fingers in the eye sockets. It's just, it's beautiful.
So good. Okay. I knew very little about depression, even less about antidepressants, but at the time, I didn't think it was beyond the realm of possibility that Robert Kinnon's encounter with the clockmaker's wife had more to do with the sudden onset of a major depressive episode than with the dead woman. I spent the night reading about depression, MAO inhibitors, and SSRIs. There were no answers, just endless possibilities. It wasn't unheard of for major depressive episodes to be accompanied by delusions or even outright hallucinations. Psychotic disorders were something less obvious in patients whose presenting problem was depression. Hallucinations were rare side effects of SSRIs. MAO inhibitors could cause serotonin syndrome, which could cause hallucinations. And that was before getting into the countless drug interactions, which, without knowing exactly what Rob had been taking, I couldn't even begin to map out. I knew Scary Carrie would love to hear every last detail Fletcher told me about the spire in the woods, but on Tuesday morning, I just didn't feel like tracking her down. I wanted to talk to Alina. The ride into school hadn't been as awkward as I had anticipated. Fletcher, also a 6-foot-tall goth girl, also being explicitly mentioned in this story. This video has to get shot down.
I'm like, it's too good.
It's too good.
The world, it's lining up too much. The stars are aligning too much.
Have you ever had a meal that was so good that you're like,
it feels illegal?
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess now it's gonna suck because every meal after this isn't gonna taste that good.
Yeah, it's never gonna be as good as this. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
It's like, well, since I don't live here, this sucks because I've got to remember this now. That's how I feel about this story at the moment. Oh. The ride into school hadn't been as awkward as I'd anticipated. Fletch was quieter than usual, and I was content to stare out my window and daydream about what I was going to tell Alina. I wondered how she'd think about Fletch's story and whether or not I should gloss over my own doubts. Also wondered if she'd cry. I feel embarrassed, even after all these years later, admitting it, but a part of me was hoping she would. Then I'd have an excuse to hug her again.
Preach, brother, preach.
That's my boy. That's my boy right there.
There he is. What a man.
I could be. Is that Scary Carrie looking on?
Yeah, that's still Scary Carrie.
Come on, give me a hug.
Okay, here I go for sure.
Put her there.
Come on.
I could be dependable, comforting,
Sorry
boyfriend
for my
material.
good job.
It was the kind of fantasy that marked me as a beta male. Whoa!
Love
And we
that.
get mentioned a beta male in the story, and
no
dude, we've got
skin
cucking
packs.
twice. If YouTube doesn't copyright this video, I will.
Yeah, no shit.
The sort of guy who, even in his own daydreams, couldn't think of a single reason he deserved the girl. I roved the juniors' hallway and the cafeteria, but couldn't find Alina anywhere. I heard from DeLuca that she called out sick. I spent the rest of the day in a funk. Carrie and I had gym 7th period, the last class of the day.
Trust me.
It was too cold to go out to the fields, so we had to choose between 3 or 4 indoor activities. Ordinarily, I'd have opted for floor hockey, the only gym class activity I'd ever enjoyed, but I felt obligated to update Carrie on what I learned about Rob and the Spire, so I joined her in the auxiliary gym for a little ping pong, a game I had no idea she was good at. She gets, bro. And she's good at ping pong.
And she's good. Well, goddamn.
she's good at ping pong.
Come on, hey, ping pong. Or it could have happened exactly like that. Or hold, what am I thinking here?
No. That was fine. That was okay. Leave it. That was okay. You did it.
Or it could have happened exactly like that. Ping pong.
Carrie said, acing me for the 3rd straight time. I was surprised that Scary Carrie wasn't as skeptical as I was. I mean, sure, Carrie absolutely believed in ghosts, and of course, I desperately wanted to, but we weren't completely credulous about every story we heard. We didn't relish wandering around graveyards and old buildings for no good reason. We weren't looking to kill time. We did it because we wanted to find something. We wanted to pull back the curtain and glimpse the grandeur of creation. We wanted to feel small in the presence of the infinite and know, if only for a moment, there's more than food, sex, and the petty minutia of social interaction. What it came down to was, while I believe Fletch, and I believe that Fletch believed Rob, it didn't follow that I believe Rob. It was the difference between lying and just being wrong. Kara and I had developed criteria for identifying the more promising leads. The Spire in the Woods had a lot going against it. Secondhand accounts. Stories with an undercurrent of social control. Witnesses with a history of mental illness. There were red flags. Rob's story had all of them.
You want to check it out? It's kind of cold for a swim. I just want to see if we can hear the bells. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of far.
Yeah, look at you not doing the voice for her that time. Thank you. Finally.
You know what? I'm never going to be a good man again. How does that sound?
You're never going to be a good man? What does that mean?
I was throwing one out for you. I don't know. I thought
you were letting me have that by not being overly critical of her. I see what you were. Okay.
Yeah. I thought it'd be nice.
All right. Well, okay. You cannot blame me.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this.
Don't do it. Okay.
I just want to see if I can hear the bells.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of far.
Of course, there was another reason I was reluctant to head all the way out to the Quabbin Reservoir with Scary Carrie. She looked at me like I had just insulted her. She knew precisely what my other reason was. Our last ghost hunting expedition had been a disaster. A very personal disaster. Carrie was old for our year. She turned 16 at the tail end of freshman year and had gotten her license the very first day of summer break. It was perfect, save for one thing. No car. Carrie's parents were divorced, and her dad had moved to New Jersey for a job. He paid his alimony and child support every month, but he just wasn't a very wealthy man. Carrie's mom had never gone to college. She had to work full-time at the deli counter at our local Market Basket just to make ends meet, which meant most days she had the car. But at night, when the store was closed, Carrie had access to the world's oldest, crappiest station wagon. For the most part, Carrie's newfound freedom changed her life very little. Mainly, her trips involved picking up the members of her small group of friends and delivering them to Dan Bergen's to watch anime and old horror movies in his basement. Go ahead, say something. Go ahead.
I think it's cool.
Hunter.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, you think it's cool. Oh, so now Scary Carrie's cool. Now it's cool. Me who believed in her up until this point, and I'm going to be vindicated by the comment section, by history, by the end of the story. I have been right the entire time. You know what, Hunter? Bear trap. Scary Carrie is the.
That's not a bear trap.
This is a bear trap.
You could
if
not
you
be
get
more
to call,
wrong.
if you get to pull a bear trap over just reading one paragraph ahead in a story, I get to pull it over Scary Carrie being cool, which I said from the get-go. We only hung out twice that summer. Both times Scary Carrie picked me up in what I called Ecto 1, and we went ghost hunting. Our first trip was to the Blood Cemetery. That's how we discovered the story of Abel Blood was a steaming load. We dressed in all black, par for the course in Carrie's case. Yeah, brother. And brought flashlights, wax paper, and crayons.
You bet your bottom dollar.
I also took the silver crucifix my parents had given me as a first communion present and my mother's Bible just in case we saw something. It was fun scrambling over the old stone wall, sneaking through the cemetery with our flashlights held low, trying not to step on anybody's grave. Even after seeing that the years of death didn't line up, We still checked out the curve where the ghost of the little girl supposedly ran out in front of passing cars. The blind curve was indeed full of skid marks. It also had, about 20 feet in front of it, a deer crossing sign. 2 or 3 weeks later, we went to a charity auction at the rec center and slipped up the stairs to the attic. The stairs squeaked beneath our feet, and even though, at worst, we'd just be thrown out of the rec center, we were terrified of getting caught. The attic hadn't changed in the 7 or so years since my last visit. A couple of card tables housed bins full of crafting materials, a pair of filing cabinets set against the back wall gathering dust. Most importantly of all, despite it being June, there were still cold spots. We stand just outside one of them, reach an arm in, try to define the boundary of the warm and cold air. It was tricky. The shift in temperature wasn't as great as I remembered from when I was a kid, and there were no hard, fine edges between the hot and cold air. The temperature just seemed to bleed from one area to another, like brine in an estuary. I experimented sticking my crucifix into the heart of the cold spot and felt nothing. If anything, it felt like the cold spots were fading away. Carrie suggested we tried talking to the spirit, Jennifer Wilkins, while we still could. I shrugged.
After you.
We'd forsaken most of our ghost hunting kit, as it would have been awfully conspicuous carrying around a Bible and a couple of flashlights. Still had my crucifix, but I doubted it'd be necessary. Stories of the Silver Spectre were all quite tame. We had, however, brought a couple of sticks of incense, which we lit with a very old Zippo that had once belonged to my grandfather. Carrie had bought the incense from a New Age store, the sort of place you'd shop at if you were inclined to believe in neo-paganism or healing crystals. The saleswoman told her it was... Look, I'm just...
I love
dude,
that.
Carrie is dangerously close to Kayla. This might be my wife. she like Kayla goes to these places constantly. She dresses like this. She looks like this. The saleswoman told her it was supposed to make it easier for spirits to pass into our realm, but to me, it just smelled like sandalwood. Carrie spoke in a lifting tone.
Jennifer, are you here with us?
I burst out laughing, and Carrie went beet red. She punched me in the arm and whispered for me to be quiet, pointing to the floor where beneath our feet the auction was taking place. Carrie tried again.
Jennifer, if you can hear me, give us a sign.
We stood still in absolute silence, waiting for an answer. It came in the form of the industrial air conditioner, mounted to the ceiling of the floor below us, cycling on. A few gaps in the floorboards lined up perfectly with one of the AC's large vents. We couldn't stop laughing as the spirit of Jennifer Wilkins returned the cold spots to full force. I also want to mention, since I brought it up, that I think I've mentioned this to you before, but I actually met Kayla going ghost hunting.
Really?
Have I told you? Yeah, have I never told you that?
No, you never told me that.
The way we met is there was, where I went to college, there was an abandoned elementary school nearby that there were stories that there's ghosts that haunt it. There was a story about a teacher that had died there in like the 70s. And it's like, oh, if you go to it, you can still see the teacher roaming the halls. So me and 3 of my friends were like, okay, we're going to go check it out. Part of the story was you had to go at midnight. Like, you know, you had to be there between midnight and 3 a.m. or something.
Right.
So we were meeting at a grocery store to all carpool over there. And then one of our friends was a girl, and she was like, hey, can I bring my roommate? And we were like, yeah, we don't care. And her roommate was Kayla. So y'all got in the car, and then we went ghost hunting that night and like freaked out. And then I also pulled a great prank on everyone that night. Okay, so there was a place nearby the college that legend has it used to be an old orphanage. I think I looked into it at one point, and it wasn't an orphanage. It was actually like a department store or something. But it was some old brick building that burnt down in like the 60s.
Sure.
But legend has it, it's an old orphanage that's now next to a church to add to the creepy factor.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this, like, I guess you could say challenge or like ritual people could do. So the story is you drive your car up, has to be between midnight and 4 a.m. And you have to get out on the gravel road, and you have to throw a piece of gravel towards the old burned out building.
Okay.
Then you get back in the car, and you drive around to the other side of the abandoned school, and you turn the car off. And then if you wait for a few minutes, you'll start to hear footsteps around the car. After you hear the footsteps, you drive away from the school, and if you get out and look at the car, there will be handprints all over it. Right?
Okay.
So that's how the legend goes. So me, being evil, we pull down in the car. It's like 6 of us packed into a Honda,
Take it.
like a little, like, you know,
Do you need
two
nails out?
door thing. We're all
Right.
packed in. We get out of the car, and everyone else goes to get a piece of gravel to throw, but I walk around to the back of the car while everyone's facing forward and start putting my hand all over the car.
That's so fucked.
So I laid out handprints, and then we go do the whole thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, I hear something." Blah blah blah. Also, this is like down a back road, middle of the night. It's like down a back road, middle of the night, and like if you turn the car all the way off, it is pitch black. You can't see anything.
Right.
Like right outside of the car. So that's a creepy factor. So then we drive away and we pull into a McDonald's in town, and we get out and they shine a flashlight and see the handprints, and the girls just started screaming.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, we could have done it, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Who could have done
So
that?
So that's the night Kayla and I met, right?
Yeah.
And then over the next several weeks, like we were friends for a couple months, and like I would talk about horror movies, and I would like talk about scary stories and stuff like that. And then we start dating. A year after we're dating, Kayla was over at my house for dinner, and I had never brought up that night since then, right?
Right.
I was just like, mission accomplished. We're sitting around the dinner table, and my dad randomly goes, "Did you ever tell Kayla about the night you pranked those girls by putting
Oh
your
my
hand all over
God.
the car?"
He sold you down the river.
Sold me out. He sold me out. Immediately,
literally
Kayla was
grabbed it
like,
by
"What?" And my dad
blood
goes,
carrier.
"Oh, wait, she was one of those girls?"
Oh, damn. Kayla, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
My dad was
sorry.
like, "Oops, sorry." And immediately Kayla told every one of those girls and people we were
Oh,
with. He was like,
absolutely.
she's like, "Guess what? Guess what happened? Remember that night that we all to this day counted as a real ghost encounter?" That's whose fault it was. This was also all pre-YouTube, so I had no outlet for like the devilishness. So yeah. But yeah, fun story. Anyway, just to further prove that I think Scary Carrie might actually be my wife transmitted through time.
Scary Carrie.
Scary Carrie. After that cute anecdote, this episode's definitely getting canned. Once we'd regained our composure, Kara and I decided to head over to the Bickfords for a bite to eat while we conducted the post-mortem on our latest failure. Now, a deer crossing sign and an air conditioner don't necessarily disprove that the Blood Cemetery and our town rec center are haunted, but they certainly had made us feel rather foolish. So while I gorged myself on Eggs Benedict, which I had only recently discovered, and Carrie nursed a cup of coffee, we started tossing around ideas for other expeditions.
No place local. Gotta stay objective. It can't be some place we've grown up thinking's haunted. You just don't want anyone we know hearing your little talking to the spirit world voice. I'd be like, you know what, dude? Fuck you, man. I'm trying to keep this ship afloat.
You just don't want hearing your little voice.
You son of a bitch. Yeah.
Carrie, in mock anger, reached over, grabbed a home fry off my plate, and threw it at me. It had taken her a long time to get comfortable with me teasing her. I guess after a lifetime of being mocked about her weight and appearance, the idea that it was the only way I expressed affection took some getting used to. Also, since I've made the comparison throughout this entire video, I want to clarify my wife is not overweight, nor do I think that. And if you ever see this clip, that is the one aspect of Scary Carrie.
I was gonna say, you better
I did
watch
not
your shit,
attribute
boy.
to my wife.
I'm like,
I
you better watch your
I'm
shit.
laying that out
The entire time
clearly right now.
You've been talking about nothing but just basically you being like, yeah, she's just like her. And she's been like, she's a 16-year-old troglodyte.
No. Look, in my head, she's 90s overweight, which means not anorexic. That's
Right.
That's what it means in my head. Yes.
Right. Well, that only makes sense.
Yes. So that is what I'm telling myself until further notice, until the story explicitly outlines otherwise. There were a few places in and around Boston we wanted to check out, but most of them were landmarks or buildings that were still in use. Neither of us was eager to get arrested, particularly not Carrie, who was going to have a hard enough time getting into college. Boston was out, most of Lowell too. We dismissed a couple of nearby leads, the Gilson Road Cemetery, which had no actual history surrounding it, just a hodgepodge of random urban legends, and the Blue Lady out in Wilton, New Hampshire, who sounded somewhat promising, but was most frequently sighted during harvest moons, which we wouldn't get until late September. Eventually, we settled on the Eunice Williams covered bridge in Greenfield, Massachusetts. It had everything going for it: a traumatic death, consistent sightings, and no air conditioning. The only downside was that, for us, Greenfield was a solid 2-hour drive each way, and that was if the MapQuest directions were up to date. A mighty big if. I didn't see Carrie again that summer. Life just got in the way. For Carrie, it was difficult to work around her mom's schedule, especially after a tiny little accident she had backing out of a space at the mall resulted in her losing her driving privileges for a month. While for me, it was the pool Christy McDowell's parents had put in that June. While my feelings for Christy and our other mutual female friends were mostly platonic, I was 15 and they were in bikinis. But oh man, gosh. This story, like, this guy was a teenager in the 90s. He knows exactly, he knows the lay of the land. By comparison, ghost hunting just didn't seem quite as exciting. Knowing how my friends, now I'll make the counter that I was both. I was into the girls in bikinis and the ghost hunting. I was a man of many
I was a man of many pleasures.
Which is probably why I didn't have much success with the women in the aforementioned bikinis.
All right, we can.
But I catered to both flavors, so to speak.
It's catered to both flavors.
I was a man of multiple palates, all right? Knowing how my friends felt about her, I never invited Carrie to tag along. Of course, in fairness to me, pool parties weren't exactly her cup of tea. When school started up again in the fall, Carrie and I resumed talking about our trip to Greenfield. But it wasn't until Rob Kennan killed himself and I made an effort to spend more time with her that we got around to actually going. Carrie picked me up early one Friday evening in mid-November. Mrs. Peterson had opened the store that morning and would be closing the next day, meaning we had Ecto 1 all night. We just needed to get the car back before she woke up and she'd be none the wiser. Driving around with friends was still novel at that point in my life. 2 hours passed by in a blur of jokes and gossip and screaming along to what little music Carrie and I could agree on. She used to have this mixtape dominated by Nine Inch Nails and Rage Against the Machine. Any thoughts on that, Hunter?
I like Rage Against and Rage Against the Machine. I like both of them.
I honestly might
I've just further proven to you that there are more points in Carrie's camp than especially Alina or anyone else in the story.
She's fine.
Uh-huh. That was a staple of our time in Ecto 1. Yeah, whatever you say. Bear trap. Bear trap for me. My bear trap. I think we listened to it straight through 2.5 times that night. We only got turned around once and arrived at the Eunice Williams covered bridge, absolutely pumped. Pulled into the bridge, got the motor, honked once, and waited for Eunice. Eunice Williams was not a resident of Greenfield. She had actually lived in nearby Deerfield back in the 1600s. At the time, Deerfield was the northwesternmost outpost of New England, deep in the heart of the former Pocumtuck Nation. Pocumtuck Nation? I think that's right, yeah. See, I'm not making fun of it, you are. That is Hunter Hancock on record making fun of Native American names. Go ahead and write that down. Someone get that posted. Before the settlers had arrived in Deerfield, the Pocumtuck had already been weakened by European disease and war with the Mohawk people. When the settlers and Pocumtuck clashed over resources, the settlers easily drove the remaining Pocumtuck from their land. Pocumtuck, however, were not ready to admit defeat. They allied themselves with French settlers and other French-aligned First Peoples in Canada and, in 1704, led an offensive raid against Deerfield's English settlers. The French and Native Americans killed 56 settlers and burned much of the town to the ground. They captured over 100 survivors and forced them to march through brutal winter conditions into Quebec. The march would take months. Among the captured survivors was Eunice Mather Williams, her husband, Minister John Williams, and 5 of their 7 children. Her infant daughter and 6.5-year-old son were both killed during the raid, but John and Eunice were determined to be strong for their other children and fellow captives. The Williamses quoted scripture, led the group in prayer, and took turns carrying their younger children until they reached the Green River. Eunice fell during the crossing. Despite having survived her plunge, the Pocumtuck warrior decided that Eunice's exposure to the icy water had weakened her too much to continue the march, so he hacked her to pieces in front of her husband and their remaining children. Legend has it that Eunice appears on the bridge over the waters where she was killed, asking any mortals she finds there of news about her children and husband. Locals say she can be summoned simply by cutting your engine and honking your horn. I love ghost stories like that. That is so cool.
You think a lot of this folktale shit is real, by the way?
It might be. It could be like local. I bet if you Googled a bunch of this stuff, there probably would be local legends of it.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
That or like Tony here has an incredibly creative mind to come up with all these.
Well,
on
yeah.
the fly.
Well, I mean, it's fucking awesome. It's just
they
it's
feel real.
so realistic that it makes you think you're like, oh, it kind of feels like this is actually something.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably is. I would agree. We'd been sitting there in Ecto 1 with the engine off and no heat when a thought occurred to me.
Why would the ghost of a woman who died a couple of centuries before the invention of an automobile respond to a horn being honked?
I could see the gears turning in Scary Carrie's head as she processed the anachronism.
Well, maybe she's just fuck.
I laughed as Carrie turned on the car to get the heat going again.
And you couldn't have thought of this before you drove out here?
She asked.
Well, doesn't mean the bridge isn't haunted. Just that Eunice probably isn't a car gal.
We waited for a bit. They got out of the car and poked around the bridge on foot. I've always liked covered bridges, ever since seeing Disney's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow cartoon as a kid. There's a nifty little plaque at this one that tells the whole story of Eunice Williams. We scrambled down to the banks of the river. It's not exactly the Mississippi, but it was easy to see how difficult it would have been to ford, especially under the strange circumstances Eunice was facing. Skipped a few pebbles, difficult feet in fast-moving water, before we got cold and decided to return to the car. Maybe it was the increasingly likely prospect that another of our missions was going to prove to be a waste, or maybe it was just the hour and the warm air of the heater blasting in our faces, making us sleepy, but whatever the cause, our energy was fading fast and our conversation had turned serious. Well, serious by high school standards.
Do you think Kim Murray's pretty?
Okay, hold on. All right, I'm not gonna do my girl like that. Do you think Kim Murray is pretty? I feel too bad.
Thank you. There we go.
Too bad. I know.
He gets some humanity redeemed. Look at that, kids. Hunter gets to go to heaven.
Hunter has a heart.
Bro! Oh my fucking god,
They say
dude.
his heart grew 3 sizes that day.
He died of a heart attack like Seabiscuit.
Turns out your chest cavity is not nearly equipped to handle a heart 3 times its size, so it ripped against his inner rib cage and it exploded on the podcast. It's terrifying. Kim Murray. I did not think
so
she was
long for my
pretty,
fucking
but
stamina.
that put me in a precarious position. Physically, Kim had her faults, but objectively speaking, she was significantly more attractive than Carrie. Aw.
I love how like red pilled this kid is sometimes. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
That's like, what do you mean that she had her faults, but objectively?
sometimes, but not every time.
Her cantle tilt was far off, and it caused her brow line to be Her Cupid's bow was not nearly developed enough for someone of high IQ. Like, objectively speaking, she was significantly more attractive than Carrie, a girl Drew DeLuca once described with what was for Drew a considerable amount of sympathy as unfortunate looking. Damn! Oh, man. Poor girl. Carrie shifted in her seat to face me.
I don't know. Never gave it much thought. Why?
We were at dance the other night, and she was talking about how much she likes knowing the guys masturbate while thinking about her.
Whoa. This is a topic of conversation I want to pursue. I love that.
Whoa, okay, just flying in from the top, from the rafters, just straight in, like, okay.
Damn, that reminds me of that movie American Beauty. That's like one of the lines from that movie too. Is one of the girls is like, yeah, it's like, yeah, and I knew that guys were jacking off to me, and she's like, gross. She's like, no, I liked it. Maybe it's what girls like it sometimes, dude. I don't know. Carrie likes it. She's like, I wish the boys would fondle themselves over me.
Okay, all right, we're reading. So she says, she was talking about how much she likes it. The other guys do it, and then our boy, we don't even know our author's name yet, right?
I don't think we actually do. I don't think he's introduced himself once.
I don't think we do. Yeah. But our author's like, I don't like the direction this is going.
Maybe we don't do this, or can we talk about something else?
Carrie grunted softly.
That's what I said. It's kind of gross.
And you're back. There he is. There was a pause. When Carrie spoke again, her voice caught in her throat.
And then Kim said, well, then I guess you're lucky you don't have to worry about anyone doing it over you.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh,
poor Carrie.
Brutal. That is rough.
Kim's also a bitch, though. Fuck her.
Yeah. That's, oh, man.
Who said that?
My cheek.
So a bitch. Oh, I guess you're lucky you don't have to worry about anyone doing it over.
When Carrie spoke again, her voice caught in her throat.
And then Kim said, well, then I guess you're lucky you don't have to worry about anyone doing it over you. Oh, that's sad.
Oh,
Poor Carrie.
brutal. That is rough.
Kim's also a bitch, though. Fuck her.
Yeah. That's,
Oh,
oh
it's
man.
not showing now.
My cheeks burned with embarrassment. I didn't know. You know what? Honestly, I was trying to say, as we were reading the story, I'm like, I'm getting flashbacks to some other story we've read. Baraska. Like the way early on, like Kimber, and like, you know, or sorry, Kimber and Kyle and stuff were described. Like they would have these little conversations like this, and they'd be very
Just
chummy
stand
and
there
stuff.
with
That's what
your
this is
thumb up
reminding me
your
of.
ass.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Get the job
I could see that.
done.
My cheeks burned with embarrassment. I didn't know what to say. Never imagined Carrie would share her sexual insecurities with me, in part because I never thought of her in sexual terms. I was, my gosh, dude. On some level, I don't think it ever fully processed for me that Carrie was a girl.
Well, I mean, I feel that. Like you have like a buddy that's a girl, and like all of a sudden you're like, I've like never actually thought of you in that way.
I remember being in high school and like middle school and stuff, and there'd be like friends of mine who were girls who I've just sometimes I'd be like, oh yeah, I guess I could be attracted to them if I wanted to be, because they're, you know, like you don't really think about it, and then one day you're like, oh yeah, I guess I could.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's not to say I was confused about her gender identity, but that because I found her unattractive, my mind had neutered her and significantly reduced her
Love
as a
that.
human being.
Neutered her.
Okay, well, me and you were
goes
trying
your
to give him the
balls.
benefit. Me and you were trying to give him the benefit of
I
the
know,
doubt.
and he's like,
I get
he's
that,
like,
I
no,
feel
that's
it.
not what I meant.
And then he literally says, my mind had significantly reduced her as a human being.
Jesus.
Dude, he shoots from the hip sometimes. All right.
Sometimes he goes his own way, so to speak.
Yeah,
His
my boy's
MGTOW
on the
comes out.
MGTOW for sure.
He's
MGTOW
100%.
built.
He loves being shirtless and smoking cigars on podcasts.
I just want to say, I love this story. By the way, I love it.
This is like a top 5 for me already.
It's so good.
If it bombs
I
out right
legitimately
now,
have
it's a
not
top
had
5.
this much fun reading a story in a long time. I've been so immersed to. I feel like I've just been a little quiet little girl in the back of the classroom.
Oh, when's it my turn for popcorn reading?
Hunter, go ahead. Oh fuck, where are we?
Yeah, that's what
That was me every time. I fucking hated that.
What's funny is too, I was like the super like annoyingly studious kid, so I'd always be like, yes, my turn, I know exactly where we are, I don't need to ask.
Yes,
like,
actually, you don't have to ask me because I know exactly where I'm. Mrs. Tamlin, I know exactly where we're at. Mrs. Tamlin.
Yes, exactly.
I know exactly where we're at, Miss Tamlin. She's like, okay, cool, Isaiah.
Anytime, I'm ready. Just
No,
toss 'em out.
anytime.
I'm ready.
Just literally tell me anytime and I'll be ready. I love you, Miss Tamlin.
I'll be ready. Yeah, whatever.
I wonder do you think we would have gotten along in high school? Well, also, God, you're so much younger than me. Probably not, dude. I'd be like, who the fuck is this young dork?
Well, I hope we wouldn't get along if you were like 22 and I was like in the 6th
kid.
grade.
Let's hang out. Come on.
That is so funny to imagine that you were like literally child predator age compared to me.
How old are you again?
I'm 25.
Okay, and I'm 46. So we're
Okay. Yeah.
deeply different ages.
21 years
When
older
is
than me.
25? Holy shit. Just only like
I don't know, because it depends on the age. If we were in high school, I think we would have got along. If we were in middle school, I don't think so, because I was so socially awkward. And like where I was like raised super religious, I was like kind of afraid of like kids that listen to like heavy metal and stuff like that. I feel like that would be prime like you bullied me age, but if it was like later high school, I think we would have got along.
Cool, dude.
You know what? No, I would have called the police because I would have been like, this guy is definitely
Hey, so
he is
this
a
guy's-
shooter. He is a killer.
trying to talk to me. Help! Someone help!
Literally, that would be me. That's what I sounded like. That's how the call would have been.
Oh God! Oh God! Someone help!
Exactly like that. Yes, correct. I agree. Carrie started to cry. Oh, this is brutal.
Yeah, she started
Carrie
to cry,
started-
dude. It happens.
Oh man, Carrie started to cry, and I leaned over to give her a hug. She let a few hushed sobs out into my
Come
shoulders
here,
as I patted
sweet
her broad-
pea. Come on.
As I patted her broad back, Okay, maybe I'm being a little too generous. With
Her,
my,
her broad back. God
I
damn.
have not heard anyone
you ever
describe
see
his
the
broad
you ever
back.
see the movie Blindside? Just like that, kid.
That's what he's describing.
You're like, God damn, dude, come on. What?
At some point, she stopped crying. It took me a second to notice, but what I thought was her taking a shuddering breath, or maybe just a tear-covered cheek sliding over my skin, was actually Carrie kissing my neck.
Oh, here we go. Come on, get on in there.
Look, I'm so conflicted right now because it's going between my interpretation of Carrie versus what the author wants me to think. I don't know where I'm at.
Hey, let me give you a hickey. What's she saying? Come on.
And you know what? And if she looked like my wife, if she wasn't, as the story was trying to describe her, if she was like the, dare I bring it up, the Jacoby that's in my mind right now, it'd be great. It'd be awesome. But I feel like the author is dissuading this as a bad thing.
I think he's just
that funny
surprised.
to you?
I think he's surprised. I think that he's gonna fall for Carrie, dude. Come on, we have to have hope for Carrie.
Yeah, I agree. I hope the story ends and it's like me and Carrie are married now. We have like 3 children. Yeah.
God, of course you would say that.
What do you mean? Of course I would say that.
It's just funny. You're like, I hope they get married at the end. Like, dude, come on. They're obviously not gonna get fucking married at the end.
That's it, with that attitude. Sure. Of course you would say that. Like, of course I'm the guy who wants a happy ending with 2 characters he likes. Yeah, what a jerk move of me to pull.
Yeah.
What a horrible idea. I wanted to leap into the backseat, to lurch away from Carrie and retreat into the furthest recess of Ecto 1. I wanted to throw open my door, sprint to the nearest house, and demand that its occupants permit to shower.
Oh my God!
Bro.
It's not that
But I
bad,
couldn't.
dude. Damn, he's over-exaggerating.
It literally cannot be that bad.
He is over-exaggerating, yeah.
Yes, but I couldn't do that. As it's fun. It's funny to
But I
imagine all this
couldn't
too.
do that.
Now my brain's going the opposite way. Like I made the jokes about her being 6-foot goth and all that stuff. Now in my head, she's like she's like comedically beautiful. Like she's like your stereotypical like goth girl, and she's like trying to kiss his neck, and he's like, "I've got to shower.
I gotta get out of here.
Disgusting.
I gotta get out of here.
I gotta
You gotta
leave.
let me leave. She's like, no one's keeping here. You gotta let me leave, girl. Come on.
And she's like a dreamboat in like fishnets and like tall boots, and he's just like, this is the most disgusted I've ever been in my life.
I've never been more disgusted in my entire life, Gary. I'll be completely honest. Gary, I'll be completely honest. I've never been more disgusted before in my entire life.
As revolted as I was that my actions and intentions had been so wildly misconstrued, Carrie was still my friend, and she was vulnerable, and she didn't deserve that. I like how he has to talk himself into not being openly repulsed.
Yeah, he's
by
like,
it.
oh, he's like throwing up in his mouth.
Hold it together. I froze, hoping she'd realize I wasn't reciprocating. The nuzzling and kissing continued. I guess she didn't, or maybe she didn't realize that this was a red flag. We never spoke about what happened in Greenfield, but either way, she needed a clear stop sign. I put my hands on her shoulders and gently pushed myself away from her.
Yeah. No, thank you.
She got the message.
I don't know. I don't think if you like that.
I had trouble spitting it out. She nodded.
We're friends. Sorry, I was trying to wrap it around my head. We're
You're
friends.
such a jerk. You're such a jerk. You're an
I feel
awful
bad,
jerk.
dude. Honestly, I'm not. Scary Carrie is dynamo. All right, it's unfortunate what's happening. All right, it is unfortunate.
You earlier referred to her by cow noises.
I'm producing here.
There you are.
Come on, man. No, don't do me like that in front of Carrie.
Normally people have like an angel and devil on their shoulder. I think you're the devil, and every now and then I
2
show
cows.
up on your shoulder, and I'm see like that. There you
I
go.
thought you were gonna say 2 cows. That's why I like. That's why I like to think I do.
You just moo to yourself to be a good person. Is that what you're saying? The trip home was one of the longest car rides of my life. Carrie never turned on the radio. The only words out of my mouth were the turns I called off on our MapQuest directions. I felt shallow. I think we both knew that I'd only said we're friends to soften the blow. I wouldn't have dismissed the affections of any of my other female friends so readily. even Christy McDowell, whom I've been friends with since the 3rd grade, I would never have pushed away like that.
Damn.
I mean, think about.
I am surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised by that.
Think about. Wait, what are you surprised by?
Well, just that, like, he's like, I literally anyone else I wouldn't have pushed away from. When I thought that the whole thing was that they're on, like, they're doing it, like they're snooping around, they're investigating, right?
No. What do you say? Okay, Hunter, put yourself in the shoes. If you were 15.
Sure.
And a girl started kissing your neck and touching you.
Oh yeah.
How rough would it have to be for you to go, no thanks?
I don't think I would. I don't think I would.
Exactly. That's I can't. When I was 15, I cannot think of a single woman I knew.
She could sit there. She could be 7 feet taller than me. She's like picking me up like I'm a little baby. I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, uppies.
See,
that's what I'd say to her.
See, I would love that.
She'd start kissing my neck. I'd say, get out of the car. We'd stay out of the car. I'm like, uppies. I never pick me up like that. I do one of these uppies. Like that. She's like, you come here.
Look, I'm like that right now. And I'm married, so with regards, if my wife was 13 feet tall, I'd be like, I need Carrie.
I need Carrie.
Uppies. I need uppies.
Uppies. Please and thank you.
Yeah. Oh no! Please don't hold me. Okay, anyway.
Please don't hold me. I love that. Please don't hold me. Don't touch
Please
me.
don't hold me. Please don't rock me gently and kiss my forehead. No, I'm saying that, like, if you were 15 years old,
yeah,
how bad's it got to be for you to be like, I'll pass, especially with a girl that you're already comfortable with and hanging out with.
I'm telling you. Well, see, that's why I would have been like, well, I mean, I'm not gonna rock the boat. Is probably what I'd say. Now, listen. The thing is, I'm just saying, it's too real.
It's sad.
is what I gotta say. It's too real. It's like a guy just being like, "Fuck, dude, I felt bad. Could have been anyone else in the world, but it had to be her."
It had to be her. Which again, it's funnier if you imagine she's beautiful. She just wears dark lipstick, so he's like, ugh.
I also feel bad too. Well, also, I'm wondering how this is gonna affect, like, I don't know. He has almost no one else in his life that he can turn to right now. So I'm wondering how, if this is just gonna fucking rock the boat too much.
Yeah. Well, this is all a flashback, right? Because he's saying that he's awkward coming to her now to tell her about the spire in the woods because of how this interaction went, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's hope. I'm just saying. Who knows? You're dealing with a fucking crazy clock tower out in the woods, dude.
Yeah, someone's dead. Someone burned to death in their car. Like, you gotta enlist Carrie's help.
Yeah, there's someone burnt to death. You're sitting there, you're worried about goth pussy and stuff like that. Come on now. What are we doing? What are we doing? Come on, man.
The following Monday, I made it a point to talk to Carrie in class like nothing had happened. She played along for a bit, but then asked me for a little space. Frankly, I was relieved to give it to her.
This fucking
rough,
guy,
man.
dude. God damn, dude. Honestly, I was happy. I needed some time.
I'm glad she was gone. I'm glad I could get her out.
I'm glad I could just boot her out of this situation.
I only told a couple of people about Scary Carrie kissing my neck. DeLuca thought it was hilarious. He wasn't the most sensitive guy in the world. Christy was a bit more sympathetic. She reminded me I was entitled to have my taste. I appreciated hearing it, but I still felt like a shit.
Dude, when I was young, can I tell you a story?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, never mind. I don't want to talk.
No, now you have to do it.
I don't. Well, I want the option to at least remove this from the episode if that's the case.
We'll see. Go ahead.
When I was younger, I mean, this is like, dude, 6th grade, 7th grade, long time ago.
Okay.
All right. I went on this movie date with this girl, big girl. Okay, it was a big girl. Right? What can I say? We were buddies. We were buddies in school and stuff.
I've never heard you like this telling a story. You're like nervous, giggling.
He's a big girl. All right, what can I say? He's a big girl. Right. And we were on this movie date, and I had a great time. It was awesome. It was a great time. And it was like one of those things too, where it's like, my mom was there or whatever. Like, we went to a movie and she was in the
rough,
back.
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Next day, it was nice. Next day, one of my buddies comes up to me and he's just like, "Hey, I heard you went on a date with so and so," and I was like, "No." And then they're like, "Dude, she said that." She said that you went on a date with her, and I was like, yeah. I mean, like because she like begged me to, and it was. I know it was horrible. I felt so bad. I know. I was in 6th grade. Come on, man. I was in 6th grade. But I'm just saying, I feel that's why I'm like right now. I feel like I'm like I have all these visceral reactions because I'm like, man, it's too real. It's too
hitting
real.
a little too close to home. You've been there. You've been in that seat.
Well,
and
also, it shows how fucking cruel kids are. They are. They're cruel.
Kids are cruel, and there's also the fact that when you are like that age, you don't have as much empathy. You're not thinking about how the other person feels.
Of course
You're
not.
constantly afraid of your social standing.
And it was
Constantly
horrible
afraid.
because my friend immediately went up to her, and then she came up to me. She's like, "Why are you telling people that this was like?" I know, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And like we like never talked. I felt so bad.
Oh, that's so sad. But at the same time, like, you know, you're a young guy. You're just thinking about how other people perceive you. You're not thinking about her.
I'm thinking
And
about what the
fact
boys
that
are thinking.
Yeah,
Do
exactly.
the
You're
boys
thinking
like
about what
me?
the boys are thinking. That's what's going through your
are
head.
the boys happy with me? That's what I'm
And the
worried
fact
about.
that you're regretful and understand it now, like, obviously the story doesn't speak negatively of your character or anything. That's just how kids are, which goes to further prove, like you said, that this story is accurate in the way it's describing like a 16-year-old thinking about it. Yeah. No, I think that's fine. I think the fact that now, if you were talking about it now and you were like, there was this
So
chick.
I'm not married. I'm just
Yeah.
like, so I went on a date with this girl last week.
Yeah,
I'd be like, come on,
that'd be a
bro.
little different.
Come on, dude.
It'd be like, okay, Hunter, let's not.
Come on, we need to cut that one out.
But you were in the 6th grade.
I mean, I was, yeah, exactly.
I'd set out to make Carrie feel better about herself, and I'd done nothing of the kind. And I never thought of myself as the sort of guy who judged a girl based on her looks, but apparently I was. Alina didn't return to school for a whole week after our last conversation. She told everyone who'd asked that she'd had the flu, but later confessed to me that she couldn't take being surrounded by people. Too noisy, too overwhelming, too many eyes staring at her.
Excuse me.
She needed to be alone. I didn't see her at lunch that day or ever again. The anxiety she felt being surrounded by people was at its worst when she was trying to eat. So her parents arranged for her to eat in her guidance counselor's office. When I found out, I knew it was good for Alina, but I couldn't help but feel like my days would be a little drearier without being able to see her across the cafeteria. Her wild hair, that smirk if it ever returned. And that was to say nothing of the wonder that years of track and cross country had done for her legs.
Do you think, now here's the thing too, do you think that our main character is kind of falling into the same tropes as Rob?
I actually hadn't thought about that yet, but there is a little bit of the
kinda just hit
parasocial
me of,
going
like,
on
the
here.
amount of times he's talked about it, he's really sinking into it to where I wonder if she's going to start perceiving him as like a Rob character and if he's going to get, you know, upset as well. You know, I don't know. I just feel like that connection, it feels too similar. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that before. I will say it's different because Rob like confessed his love to her several times and she kept saying
Well,
no.
bro,
so
we haven't been there yet. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
I'm
That's
just saying
true.
that-
He could.
I'm just saying
it
that
could be the same track.
Exactly.
Could be the same.
That's all I'm
direction,
saying.
yeah. That'd be an interesting similarity, especially considering how our author kind of views Rob as like a spectacle almost, like everything that happened to him.
Well,
whereas he could be
he's
more
a
relatable
confidant
than
right
he
now.
thinks.
You know, he's like
Yeah,
a confidant
yeah.
right now, but how easily can that change? And I think that the answer is extremely.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can see that. I finally caught up with her on Friday morning. She was at her locker. To cut down on the amount of time she had to spend jammed between chatty classmates, Alina had taken to cramming every book and binders she'd need until lunch into her backpack. She looked like a freshman.
Hey, Alina.
She didn't look up.
Oh, hey.
I dropped down next to where she was crouching and lowered my voice.
I spoke with Fletch.
Alina froze. I couldn't tell if she was nervous or excited. She took a couple of deep breaths as she turned towards me.
Did you see it? Yeah. Basically said the same thing as yours.
She deflated, but I continued.
But then he told me what happened. You gonna be at lunch?
She bit her lower lip as she considered for a second.
No. Oh, well, we could. What do you have last period? Just gym. Can you skip it?
I never cut class in my life.
Absolutely. See, I'm telling you, he's a little dirty dog.
He is. But it's like you said, it's realistic. He's constantly thinking about girls and he's thinking about his standing and stuff like that. This feels like a... okay. So I see now why people like Spielberg were attached to like the adaptation and stuff like that, or probably still are. This is such a great coming of age story so far, with like how well
that's what I was gonna
described
say
and it
too,
feels
is-
so high school.
One thing that it's done differently from other creepypastas, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, I just feel like the slow burn aspect of, like, the setup and the character dynamics are extremely strong. Like, it feels ridiculously strong. Versus
Everyone feels so well built out. Yes.
not that Baraska didn't have that, but I just feel like they kind of like, I feel like whenever it was telling the story, it really needed this emphasis of like needing to give you a punch like every once in a while. This story is just like so slowly unveiling itself, and it's like,
I mean, we just spent
Kind of
that
a
long
big
talking
buck
about
right
like
there.
an awkward
Oh, wow.
interaction he had with
Yeah.
Carrie, right?
Yeah.
Just like a side character, and it was interesting. It didn't
think
feel
it
like
is.
the story dragged or pulled anywhere. It was like it felt relevant, even if it was just set dressing. It felt important to know all of that.
yeah.
This is it's very expertly written. I love all the characters. I love the direction. This is great. This is awesome.
it's
This is
awesome.
like if the rest of it sucks, it's already top 5. Like even with what it's built right.
Well, here's my so into part 3, we're going into part 4. I think that, I don't know, I hate to say, like, I think that in the reveal of the story, when we start getting into the thick of it, because here's the thing too, usually when we read these stories, there's creepy moments. There's a lot of like, you know, atmosphere and stuff where you're like, oh shit, that, you know, you kind of like get on your toes a bit. This is taking so long to where I'm thinking that the reveal is going to be it's going to be hook, line, and sinker. Is what I think.
If it pulls off a good scary reveal, this is going to be an all timer.
I mean, so far, out of all the things we've read, this is by far one of the most enjoyable so far.
Yes. Yeah, this is stellar. I'm in love.
Running from torch.
I'm Jin Love.
I'm Jin Love.
Part 4?
All right, part 4. I didn't have any classes with Fletch and rarely saw him in the halls, but I had 2 classes with Drew DeLuca, and he had lunch the same period as Fletch, so I had him pass along that I wouldn't need a ride. When 6th period let out, I made my way over to the parking lot where Alina was waiting for me next to her blue 98 Beetle. We got in and blasted the heat. Unlike Fletch's ancient Civic, Alina's Beetle actually warmed up pretty quick. Everything but the silence was comfortable.
Do you want to get it right into it?
Alina looked at me out of the corner of her eyes. They were so blue. She shook her head.
Not while I'm driving.
We rode in silence until we pulled up in front of a good-sized colonial house.
Is this okay? Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. I don't want to talk about it in public. It's totally fine.
Alina looked relieved as she hit the garage door opener. It was like she thought bringing me over to her house was really putting me out. Getting out of the car, I noticed the garage was otherwise empty. We were alone. Abby, an aging golden retriever that the Amanevs apparently didn't kennel, greeted us with her tail wagging and her leash in her mouth.
I have to take her out. Make yourself at home.
Just being inside Alina's house felt so intimate. Identity is everything to a teenager, and to bring someone else into your home was to expose a part of you that was beyond your control. It was laying bare the environment that had produced you. When I had first entered Fletch's house, his discomfort was evident. His house was just a place he passed through to get to his room. For Scary Carrie, her house was a source of shame. Mrs. Peterson's small, ill-kept home was a constant reminder to Carrie, not just of her parents' failed marriage, but of her mother's lack of achievement, lack of education. They were both stuck there, in a house that smelled of deli meats and the water that feta cheese is packed in. Ew.
I know, right? It's not fucking gross. You know why I don't like that too is because I know that it's packed in, but there's like it's just the juicy wet layer that's
the
also in
water
there.
that's
I
left in the
fucking hate
package
the water
after
in
you
the
pull it out. Yeah.
I hate that, dude.
A smell that started in Mrs. Peterson's work clothes but now infused everything they owned. I entered Alina's house with the same reverence I would a church. It had a feeling to it that put you in the mood to sip hot chocolate and watch the snow fall. There were candles and tea lights on the tables and holiday-themed knickknacks on the walls. The piney scent of a Christmas tree filled the air, and as I collapsed onto their overstuffed couch, it occurred to me that, for the first time all day, I felt relaxed. After she returned, Alina led me downstairs into the game room, a finished basement dominated by a full-size pool table. She offered me a soda from the mini fridge behind the wet bar, Then we sat down on a love seat in front of the big screen TV. Elena stared at me while I spoke. I stared back. It was impossible to look anywhere else. I recounted the story Fletch had told me, as faithfully as I could. All the while, I was very conscious of where her legs were in relation to mine. They tugged at me as if they had gravity. That is the most teenage boy thing ever. Like,
I know.
What if I cross my legs this way and our ankles touch a little bit? What if, like,
I guess we're barely touched, so we're kind of like in love. So
yeah. Oh, she threw her arm back and like my wrist touched like a little bit below her elbow. So
Yeah,
we're kind of an item now.
we're basically dating.
We're basically dating. She's having my kid next month. Yes.
I'm 16.
I'm 16. Yes. I will never financially recover from this.
Yeah, no shit.
She seemed fine the whole time I talked, but the moment I was done, she began gasping for air, like she'd been holding her breath. Then the sobbing started. I was quick to close the gap between us. I held her for several minutes while her slender frame shook and quivered. When she regained her composure, she slowly withdrew to her end of the love seat.
Oh, God. I'm sorry.
She said, wiping her eyes with her sleeve.
Don't be.
Such a mess. I feel ashamed when I'm happy and like a victim when I'm ashamed. It takes everything I've got to keep it together. It's exhausting. Have you talked to anyone? Seen it? You know. Yeah, but she won't give me anything. That's not a bad thing. So, you don't believe any of it?
Her right leg began bouncing up and down on the ball of her foot.
I thought you were Mr. Ghost Hunter.
I scoffed. The corner of her mouth twitched as if she were about to smile, and for a fleeting second, I felt connected to her, to the old Alina. I didn't run around telling everyone I met why I cared so much about ghost stories. I didn't wear anything that personal on my sleeve. But I told Alina. She listened and nodded and understood me.
You something?
She nodded.
Why does it matter to you if the widower's clock is real? I need them to be wrong about me. The people who stare at me in the halls, blame me, like Fletch and John Murphy. Fletch is just hurting. He doesn't blame me, not really. Yes, he does. Everybody does. All they get are these little snippets about how much Rob loved me. I've heard them all talk about it. They say I thought I was better than him because I live in a big house, or because he wasn't a jock, or because he was nerdy. He loved me, and I was the bitch for rejecting him.
Lena pulled her legs up to chest and hugged her knees. I remember being struck by how much she looked like a little girl. It seemed strange at the time, but in hindsight, at scarcely 17, Lena practically was a little girl. A kid realizing for the first time that her classmates felt entitled to opinions about what she did with her body and affections. I wanted to tell her that it wasn't true. That no one really believed she was a snob about money, or shallow, or a bitch. I wanted to, but I'd also heard the whispers.
The truth is, the only thing I really know about him is that he made me uncomfortable.
I moved beside her and put my arm around her shoulder. I could feel how tense she was as she stared straight ahead.
It's not your fault.
Her hair smelled like vanilla.
God damn it, this guy.
Calm down.
This fucking horn dog, I know. He's like, I touched her ankles, her hair smells like Oreos. It's awesome.
Every time she's like crying, talking about like, and it's my body, and I just feel like everyone else looks down on me because I wanted to do with myself what I saw fit. I didn't owe him anything, and our author's like, her shaved legs. Very
Luck be a lady
caressed.
tonight. Luck
Which is actually... It's actually kind of like well written in that sense. Like as she is, like we see it through like, haha, he's like a young horn dog or whatever. Like put her there, bro, totally me. But as she's talking about like how she doesn't feel like she has an agency to her own decisions because everyone's judging her based on something that really wasn't in her control and she reacted normally with, the guy is still like oogling her.
Well, yeah, she's still being idolized by another person. She's still being fawned after, in a way too, which makes our protagonist. It doesn't even seem like he's really truly listening to what she's saying. You know what I mean?
No, because anytime she says something, he's like, her legs had a gravity. I was constantly aware of my distance from them. Yeah. Which it's interesting to write that way. And it's also not like our protagonist is evil because, again, this is like
He's a 16-year-old boy.
classic. He's a 16-year-old boy. Yeah, yeah.
Elena, look at me.
She looked so full of uncertainty, scared. I put my other hand on her wrist.
I'm gonna go down there to the Quabbin.
She grabbed me by the shoulder and held me like I might fall.
It's okay.
I couldn't help smiling at her concern.
God damn, dude. Come on now. I won't go in. We're just going to listen for the bells.
She studied my face. We were only inches apart. My heart was racing.
Besides,
I said as I leaned in.
I want to.
And I kissed her. Yeah, there it is. There he goes.
He's a sleazy dog.
There he is. I'm going to go listen. I'm going to go listen to the ethereal Lovecraftian bells that call out from
Babe,
the
listen.
time now past.
Listen, babe. I plan on going to listen to the bells only after a smooch. Come on. It's just a
Yep.
kiss.
Average 16-year-old when confronted by a single Eastern European woman. Her lips were slow to respond. Doubts raced through me. Was she surprised? Was this a rejection? Had I crossed the line? I felt like Scary Carrie must have back in Greenfield. But Alina didn't withdraw. Maybe it had nothing to do with me. Maybe it was just survivor's guilt. I don't like the wording on that one. Maybe it was just survivor's guilt. That's rough. After a very long couple of seconds, Alina kissed me back. My brain went fuzzy. I almost had to stop. It's tough to kiss with a grin.